Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Let's Talk Tactics. I'm your host, Zach Burrell.
I am Daniel Boone.
And I'm Luck.
And we are live. So this is the first time we're doing this. We want to do something a little different and special for the 50th episode. We've talked about this a lot, mainly Daniel, actually. I think you've been one of the main sort of advocates for doing a live podcast, whether it be on the Discord to support that community or just on Twitch like we are now. To sort of address everybody directly, have some viewer interaction, and I mean, we barely cut stuff out of the podcast anyway, so like there's not a whole lot to do live. Like most of it's like little pauses or whatever else, which
But
it's really not that
but
much.
when we screw up, like they can like come in and
Yeah,
save
right.
the day for us.
Oh yeah, that's true. And we're like, oh, if you guys tell us in the comments below, it's like we'll get blasted in Twitch chat. That's just how it goes. So bring on the blasting. Or actually, funny aside, it's been my friend and I's joke all week. For my birthday, my girlfriend got me one of those like expensive massage guns because they're super useful and amazing. And it's a good quality device, but it's clearly translated from another language. And one of the like rules, they all start with forbid to, like forbid to do this, forbid to do that, which is funny enough. And the last one is forbid to, what was it, like place fingers or other body parts in like moving sections to avoid the squashing. Or to prevent the squashing or something like that. So this whole week it's just been like avoid the squashing and this. So anyway, that aside, we will get right into this. We're gonna start. We haven't actually put out a podcast in like 3 weeks, which is a mix of scheduling conflictions and all kinds of stuff. And then we're like, hey, we want to do this on a weekend, so push it another like half week. So here we are, going all the way back to Elena or whatever. She's not even on the front page of War of the Visions calc anymore. I had to go find all of her stuff on this website. So Daniel, if you want to talk through her, and you can kind of lump in her VC and her special like weapon for her as well.
Yeah, I would love to dive into that. So I don't actually have that pulled up. So yeah, I'm just gonna start with Elena and then go from there. By the way, I prefer Elena. So everyone else who says that instead of Elena, you are right, and everyone else is wrong. So.
She's White Crystal Elena.
Oh, okay. So just a quick dive into her character before we get to the skills. Obviously, everyone knows by now she's cost 100. She has her own unique main job, and then Kododama Wielder and Rune Knight. She wears hats or helms. She actually doesn't wear hats, right? She wears helms, cloth accessory. So you can't use Sage's hat on her. So you have to use ribbon until we get the Santa's clothes or whatever, if they're even going to be called Santa's clothes. She has a really interesting TMR. One of the few like abilities that increases light dark resistance, as well as slash deck. Like we don't really see a lot of light resistance or dark resistance besides like the cleric sub job with like light veil and dark veil. So I think that's really cool, especially with the kind of like light and dark kind of dominating. She gets the usual master ability for light units nowadays with like, you know, increasing HP and light attack, but she also gets agility up and magic up 10% for herself. So she can actually get really fast if you're focusing on increasing her agility. Kind of more lackluster in terms of like her stats is her resistances, especially her status ailment resistances. She gets paralyzed and sleep. So I mean, I guess if Summer Katone is on your opponent's team, I guess you don't really have to worry too much about her LB hitting you, if she can even hit. But she does have 10% confusion resist. That's kind of nice, but I mean, you don't really see a lot of 25% base confusion. So I don't know if I'm really impressed with her attack resistances. She has 0 slash, 10% pierce, -5 striking, 10% missile, and magic res. So, I mean, could be worse. And I like that she can stack magic resistance or missile resistance. You know, you can't really do one or both of them. So you can kind of expect her to get maybe like, I don't know, 50% of either, or 60 if you're doing like the spellblade buff. Just relatively easily without like getting too much into it, like between your Esper, your buff, and then maybe whatever VCs you have. Jumping into skills because we're kind of chugging right along. It's hard to do this because she's been out for so long. Everybody knows that she has probably by now she has courage on her main job. Like she uses it all the time. She has more than one like multi-hit attack, like 3 or 4 hit skills.
Well, I think one note is that it is important that she has to be 120 to get that immortal spirit thing, because
Yeah,
it's not she's not one of the ones you can kind of get to 115 and still feel good
yeah,
about it. Like you really do want to push her to be maxed out, which as
yeah.
a I guess she's not double cost like the other 100 units might be, but
Which is fortunate, yeah. But she is limited, obviously.
right. I guess that's
Yeah,
the more.
so yeah, definitely a high priority unit to get to 120, which isn't always the case. Like sometimes you can just chill at 115 and then just kind of slow build the last 200 chart or mind spheres. So yeah, kind of changes the game for her once you can unlock that courage skill. I've tempered my resolve. Is what it's called. Um, she has a few like TP skills that if you're concerned with like using her in auto PvP like guild battles, like you might have to kind of toggle on or off and see what works best for you. Her Estella Maris increases attack and magic for 3 turns for allies, and it's not actually even a cross AoE centered on her. She can actually target like one square away from her or whatever. So that's actually really useful if she's on like the side of your team.
Mhm.
She can still make sure to hit everybody. I kind of like that because normally we just see it like cross AoE centered on the unit for buffs like that.
It's really nice for like PvP like openings as well, where sometimes you want to have somebody say like a Mashra TMR in the middle of 3, but then she's gonna go and she can't get in the middle to do a cross. Having something like this is actually really huge. If they start putting out more abilities like that, it's gonna change a lot, I think.
Openings, yeah.
It's
Change the
crazy.
openings of
I kind of skipped over her stats in term. Like I kind of want to move towards like talking about how evasive she is or how tanky she is before moving into skills more. So it's interesting. I don't know if you guys have looked on the skill index, but she's sitting at number 6 in luck. After, I mean, like it's not base luck. The index just kind of just increased or adds everything up. But
Yeah.
it's funny. Balo is still
Functional
ahead of
luck.
her. Balo is at number 5, you guys. So it's Shadowlinks, Yorzan, 2B, Knight of Ruin Stern, and then Balo above her. But
The Earth is actually the evasion element.
but she still has a respectable like 272 total as far as the index goes. I haven't really had the chance to push her above like 450 before like a buff from like Wish for Peace or whatever, or Affinity. But I don't really expect to see her getting above like 500. Like we've seen some like URZons get above 500 or whatever. I don't really look at Shadowlinks or really see her too much. So just an interesting note as far as like how evasive she can be. It's kind of impressive. She really can be one of those evasive units, standing toe to toe with like 2B and like obviously Sazon the Unkillable and stuff. She just has a lot of interesting skills on her main job. Like I have like when I've been using her, I have found that like there's been situations where the choice of skills, like it's not always just like you go just to your one favorite skill and then like you wait for your next turn or whatever. Like she has an interesting kind of toolkit where you can pick either like maybe the lowest spender, or you're looking for like the maybe not 4 hits, maybe like the 2 hit from Crystal Shine Bright. You're looking for the buffs. Like each of her main job skills has something that adds to her effectiveness. So it's weird to see somebody or like a unit that's like effective with like all of her main job skills. So I thought that was notable to bring up. Her LB especially is just another one of those OP LBs because it's got 3 hits on it. It's a 200 cap, 200 modifier cap at level 20. So I don't, you got to spend those pots. But whether or not it hits, it reduces the counter chance of reactions for 3 turns for targets. So it's really important um, against obviously reflex, but steal ephemeral form or like Aeon bonds. There's a slew of reactions that were like, man, I really wish that wouldn't have procced like speed reflex. So whether like it's nice that that applies whether or not it actually hits, and the fact that it has 3 hits means that there's a greater chance of that happening. So that's pretty cool. And last but not least, it has a decreased agility by 20% at max for 3 turns. So it's just it's kind of like a 1-2 punch kind of thing. I think people kind of underestimate the effectiveness of AP or agility breaks. We're kind of used to we grow comfortable with the agility on our team, and maybe we tune it to each other so that you get 3 turns in a row or whatever, and this can kind of mess that kind of tempo up, especially with like single or double quicken teams. Between her other sub jobs, Kododama Wielder and Rune Knights. I'm kind of conflicted to talk about this with you guys because um, generally I go Rune Knights, but I've seen her just as effective with Kododama Wielder, especially with nimble movement paired with unavailable pain. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Unavailable pain, it's the 360 like cast time on that. You can't underestimate that. You can get it off so quick, especially with light teams. Like if they're stacking, I don't know, the Truso VC, which reduces cast time by 100 for all light units. Uh, it's not that hard to uh, get it off super quick. I don't really see her use anti-magic wall that much. Like you can kind of expect her to have like maybe a couple turns to buff, and you're trying to do courage. Maybe you're using like Zombie Ryryu's TMR for a re-raise. Um, so I mean, anti-magic wall would really help her for those guaranteed like I don't know holies or Yuna's LB. Um, and keep her from having to proc the courage, like getting like one shot right away. So I mean, Kododama Wielder is it's nice to have as a sub job, but obviously I favor Rune Knight, the Drain Evo from the 5 range on that, the slash resist penetration buff on that. To like almost all of her attacks are slash attacks, so um, it's just really good. But that's kind of like the highlight of the Rune Knight sub job for her. She doesn't have hazard slash. So in terms of using the rest of her Rune Knight skills, like Hazard Spell, I don't want to use that, but I mean, it could be nice as a magic buff. But Banish Blade and Banish Blade, you got to get really close. And Light Break Rune, woo! Like nobody uses the break runes from the Rune Knight job, so.
I'm gonna use it now
Um,
just so you can't say that anymore. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think the thing about Kodama is mainly that nimble movement. Like being a 3-1 unit these days, we like
yeah,
going to 4-2 is just so huge. And also I think that Earth Rending Pain can be kind of cool too. Once, especially if we get Quicken back again,
that
being
gap
able to
closer.
gap closer into chaining into something else. But I think I personally would use Rune Knight because I agree, I love Drain Evo so much. But
Yeah,
honestly, it might be more map dependent than just like what you want to use for her. In the current CM map, there's not a whole lot of reason to go with two jump. Like there's a couple nuances there, but I definitely could see on other maps just complete that being the deciding factor, less than like which one's just better. You know what I mean? Because they all have
yeah.
kind of some merit to them.
So I kind of skipped over her passives and her reactions, but I just want to quickly note, like, it's interesting how you can really focus on evade for her, or you can try to make her tanky,
Mhm.
because she can actually form or function as not like a magic tank. She can't really gain hate or
Magic
anything, but
Bruiser.
it's a
Yeah.
magic bruiser, exactly. Yeah. Steal ephemeral form. It's only 20% chance to counter, so it's not that 30% that Summer Katone gets, or that like other reactions like
Or the 90% that Ambon gets.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's still useful. I mean, you're not really gonna use magic commutation, um, uh, so that's kind of just like kind of a waste of reaction from Rune Knight. Probably the least contribution from that job on her as a unit. But I like the idea of going steal the ephemeral form for her reaction as a magic bruiser and using anti-magic wall to keep her alive. And actually, it's interesting to note like how you changed uh, Valentine Soler to null CT, like you can actually even use Bathe and Starlight if you're using her as a magic bruiser and
Mhm.
you're worried about Katone.
Yep.
Nullify Stop, more HP as a magic bruiser, always nice. So at first glance, I think people are assuming like she's going to be evade, so they look at her passives and they're like, man, these fucking suck, man.
Yeah.
It's really easy to just go Champion of Estrella and, like, I don't know, Sharp Minds, maybe Light Enhancing Rune, but because you can use her as a magic bruiser, that's when the other passives start to shine. Getting that Dark Resist up, the Spirit up, like the Nullify Stop. Who cares about sleep? She's already got
I was
50%
about to
resistance. Like,
say, like, this
Yeah.
is one of
like
those situations
uh,
where they just double stack the same thing. It's just like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
yeah. That's probably one of my biggest complaints, actually, is like,
Yep.
what's with the oversight there?
I wish it was
Um,
like nullify slow or something. It would be so much better.
yeah,
Yeah, slow
yeah,
and stop. Yeah, it'd be dope.
yeah.
Or
It would be more
disable. You
systematic.
imagine if it's disable and stop? Just
Oh god, oh my
Jeez.
god, dude.
never
Imagine
stop
that.
evading. Never stop evading. Or confuse. Like upgrade her confuse from that 10% she has to, like, if you really care about that,
Anything,
like,
basically.
yeah, bring it up.
Yeah, I'm curious actually.
Stun. No.
We've seen reports of like second masteries for like the vanilla, like the launch units. So I'm curious to see down the road if anything gets added to her second mastery if she ever gets one.
Yeah.
Locke, any
I
thoughts?
was about to say something.
Oh, whoops.
I mean, like I think she's similar to Black Rose Helena in the sense that she has very similar stuff that she has. Like, there's really no way to reduce her damage if you build it correctly. She has Spirit Penetration and Magic Resist Penetration. Sorry, Slash Resist Penetration and Spirit Penetration. And I mean, she doesn't have a Barrier Break, but she does have 4-hit skills, which is similar. The only thing that she doesn't really have is like a light resist down on one of her active skills. Like, you have to actually use a skill that doesn't do damage, which is the what's it called, light break rune, which you really don't want to use. But other than that, I mean, she's similar, and you can also use Black Rose Helena's TMR on her anyway. So I mean, she kind of can function similarly as her, except for those two things: no barrier break and no light resist down. So I mean, I think she's just as powerful as her. She can just, the only thing she has over her is that she can also be built as evade, whereas Black Rose Helena cannot. But Black Rose Helena has, like, with these ranged height 2 skills, like a ton of them, and like huge AoEs. So I mean, they're different. But she has more survivability than her. But they have similar kind of skills. Like, I think Black Rose Helena is still definitely like a notch above her, but I think Starlight Helena is not too far behind. Like, I think she's still up there as a unit.
I think they do kind of fill similar roles as like the sort of high-end magic DPS sort of units, with I guess having the height difference on Black Rose Helena versus the evade on Elena's, like, or Elena, are the main things that separate them. But yeah, they're kind of the, like, on the, like, what else on dark teams, right? It'd be what, Dwayne, Black Rose Helena. Who's the other like main one people would typically use? Like Garvel, I guess.
Garvel or Venera, I think.
Or Venera, okay. And then you, for the other one, now it's like what, Jaden, Yuna, and Elena. So it's like,
Actually,
there's a lot of light units actually. Like,
I really want to see
Wall.
another light unit that can make use of the Carbuncle VC to get that magic resist for light units.
The cameo of the lock glass.
What?
You're fidgeting. Sorry, tilting it again. It's a lotion all over again.
So with the Carbuncle VC giving like 20% magic resist, that brings her up to 30, and she can easily get up to like 50 or something before any kind of magic resist buff. That and the VC ability with, like,
you want to roll into that.
Yeah, and the heal up. So I'm kind of on the lookout for another light unit that uses like maces that can really go on like a Jaden Elena team or something, because like it kind of covers the bases of magic attack, slash attack, missile attack for light units.
Did you both? Well, obviously you did. Locke, did you pull her at all? Or did
Yeah, I
you
mean,
let her go?
I have her maxed at 120.
Okay, nice. I maxed her last night.
Oh, nice.
I think I hit 25, so we'll finally be able to get that immortal spirit going. But yeah, real quick, you want to just roll over VC, and then I would say your opinion on the best weapon for her, because I think that's kind of an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that is an interesting weapon. Let me find her VC. because I'm having to scroll down here. There we go. Smite the Dark. Still a badass name. I know we've seen it. We've all seen it by now. But yeah, Smite the Dark, really cool. One of those vision cards that like it's smart to know the name of because it's going to be referenced. Even if you just call it like the Smite VC or whatever, it's the light like evasion card sort of in the sense that it gives you that luck 35%. Um, that on top of Flash of Insight, you know, the light attack, like evasion 20 vision card. These are, you know, it's the light version of like the dark VCs or whatever. Anyways, not really gonna mention much about the stats, although the 16 AP is kind of nice. Like I said, party effects, luck up 35%, crit damage 13. It's that hybrid.
Yeah, the halfway.
I mean, you can't really. I wouldn't say there's a lot of light units that you're expecting to crit a lot.
Like
I mean,
Rob Horn.
besides Rob, he's like built to crit all the time. But it's still interesting. You never know when you're gonna get that crit on I don't know, Jaden or something. So, and then just the strike resistance is kind of weird. But you can't always have OP vision cards like Scorpion Sentinel. So I mean, it kind of helps like Elena, and I'm sure there's other light units that have negative strike resistance naturally. So yeah, it's nice not to just get one shot by like Ex Raldo or something when his comes out, or you know, I don't know, Venera or something. But the bestowed effects for any light unit, it's they get magic up 20%, pretty nice, and evasion up +5. That really helps Elena survive, and probably, I don't know, Vistral and Rob and stuff. But Elena specifically gets light attack up 10 and crit rate up 10. So it's if you're using Elena and you're using this on her, it's kind of nice, increasing her crit rate so that she can take advantage of that crit damage even more. I kind of like how those two go in tandem, but not really much else to say about this. It's just an all around good card for light evasion.
Yep. And then weapon wise, do you use her weapon or do you use another one?
I am using her weapon for now, and it's funny because I actually use her weapon on other Magic Slash units. I put it on Halloween Rivalry recently, and yeah, it was just like, and Howlet as well. I was like checking them out, but I think like you're probably kind of indicating with your body language to me right now, the magic Sword of Light is probably better in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one. The 5 agility is the only thing that makes me consider this over that, because it's a 20 mod versus a 45 mod, so it is, you know, only half. But it's a high magic value, which having higher magic these days is pretty nice, because like we're hitting these giant base values that like the modifiers like they multiply, which I guess is an argument in both directions. But that 5 agility and not feeling like you need to have any sort of other item to get your extra agility bonus, depending on your team build, of course, kind of sells me on, and I am using them on her right now. Mostly because I haven't actually crafted my magic sword of light yet.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm at.
I have enough to make 4 swords of lights, like recipe wise, but I don't actually have I haven't done it and put the books, materials. That being said, though, I could still see myself using this even if I had like three of like every other weapon, and like this is just like because I actually want to, not because I have to.
And it's interesting. It's interesting to mention that having the agility on her sword means that you can use Ribbon and like her TMR or whatever, and still have access to an agility buff on equipment. But like once we get Santa Claus, like I actually kind of like using bells on.
It's like Santa Claus. It's Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, I thought I said Santa Claus. Sorry.
No, you did. You did. It sounds so.
Santa Claus. So like I like using bells on her because like she's kind of like, if you don't buff her AP consumption down, like evasion buff or whatever, it's like she runs out of mana like after her first battle or whatever, or after like a few turns of using her in manual, you know. So she doesn't have the benefit of like Fire Glaciella with her LB that gives her like the AP restore. Once the Santa Claus comes out, I think it's going to be hard for me not to use bells on her. What are you guys thinking in terms of other TMRs? I'm sure, you know, Halloween Ryu TMR stands out, but you know, in terms of like OG Katone's TMR, or like does anything else stand out to you?
It depends on the sub job. I think like if I'm Kodinamo wielder, I don't want to use Katone's TMR.
Yeah,
But like if I'm
collapse.
not using that, then maybe. I think it depends. This is what I do like about her is based on the rest of her team might decide that, because if someone else needs bells more, I'm like, all right, you can have it. I start off with enough AP. I'll deal with it, do some buffs, whatever. But if the other ones are like what Yuna and then maybe like Wall, who you want to be fast, but you don't necessarily need to have him like super high agility, and he's just there to tank. Okay, just put it on her as kind of like a constant gas source if she doesn't need to be buffing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it depends.
And
Locke.
especially, oh sorry.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
was say Locke's thoughts. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I'd use the belt on her, especially in class match, because I mean usually there are crystals to grab anyway, right? So when I was trying her out, I was thinking of her using her in a double quicken team, which obviously I haven't had a chance to use in CM. But if I was doing that, I would put Ketone CMR on her, obviously, and while double quickening, grab crystals. So I don't really like. That's probably a setup I would go for. And again, if I'm doing double quicken, I probably don't have time to put the Kotodama buff anyway, so I can't really use that, right? Because that has a cast time. So that's probably how I would go. That's what I think.
So I was going to mention that if you are using her as a magic bruiser, I would probably use her her weapon instead of sort of light, because of having access to like Mashri's TMR or Yuna's TMR. You know, like the usual like I'm making my team have better damage mitigation.
Right.
So like you don't need like evasion or anything, so you don't need to use ribbon unless you're trying to like not get stopped or something. And I don't know, at that point it's like, why not use like something else that helps you not get stopped? But I think it was important to note, like we haven't seen really Elena Magic Bruiser, but she does have access to those
You
TMR.
haven't
That's
seen.
important. Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be in the future. I think we're gonna talk a lot more about Elena when we talk about the current class match, because I have seen a lot of her, and I do want to use her myself. I haven't yet, but I'm hoping to by the end of the class match period. But we got to roll on to other stuff here, so that's the majority of the thoughts, and maybe there's some more nuances that I want to touch on later. But all right, rapid fire on EX upgrades and what I think is kind of a medium vision card. So they released Tune-Up Time, which is a water VC based around missile units. We do have 3 of them now, so there's Krace, 4, right? Krace, Lara Croft, Winter Victra, and nope, that's all 3. No, I'm missing one, right? Shit, I'm not.
I think that's
All right,
3.
all 3. So I guess Lara Croft was like, I counted her twice in my head, but it's kind of a medium stat-wise, but it does give AP, which is interesting. But it is the water single target resist VC now, so we have both the AoE and the single target upgrades, which I think is cool to have. But it has the human killer as well. So now we have the human killer, the water attack, and the missile attack, so you can start to get that trifecta of damage. You need disrespect, yeah. The trifecta is sort of like all 3 types of the major modifiers that we find on VCs. So if you want to have like max damage on those units, you can. But the other stuff on here, like the bestows, are like, you know, 10% magic resist, 10% attack increase. If you're Lucia, of course they had to put an off element unit on here. And Krace, you get like 20 missile attack, which is good, but I don't know. And then like the 13 accuracy being the medium, like the half effect party effect you get for it being a mono element VC. I think a lot of the units that are using this card have either sure hits or other things that they don't necessarily need to have the stack accuracy to be effective in the matchups where they need accuracy. So I think it's a good VC to exist, but it's not exactly something I'm like clawing at trying to max. If either of you have any thoughts, jump in. Otherwise, I will jump to.
Yeah, I'm slow building. It's at 3 stars.
That didn't bother.
Excellent. All right, Glaciella Wazette got her EX, and upgrade wise, her Warman's Acuity, which is the pierce attack and defense penetration buff, now also gives AoE resist and magic resist. Costs the same amount of TP, same number of uses, but those are pretty interesting because I think she has pretty shitty. She's negative 10 magic, so this puts her at positive 10%, which is nice. Kind of one of those units that I would be like, all right, cool, like you're gonna eat my Valentine Slayer ability and get one shot because she has no magic resist. But this kind of helps a little bit. So you're using this buff most games anyway, I think, because it's so powerful. It doesn't look like the pierce attack goes up at all. It just kind of keeps the same and just adds more effects. But her leap strike, which is kind of her, I would say it's probably her most identifiable, or like her most, not marquee, that's the word I'm looking for, signature attack. Now decreases AP consumption for self, which that's pretty nice, because I mean a lot of times you do lead in with this, especially if you're doing like double quicken teams or like a keen blade team,
Vinny
being
just
able
went to sleep.
to either, what's that?
Vinny just went to sleep. He would totally be winging on this right now.
Yeah, right. You may not have to use the same team. Like you might not need bells, because either you're picking up crystals on the way, or you get to do a buff and then leap strike, and you decreased AP consumption lets your next thing, like you can actually use the next thing without having to have this like stockpile of AP. I'm sure Vinny's talked all about this, and I have not seen the conversation. So if there's other thoughts I'm missing, correct me. But her job 25 skill though is a 200 damage mod. Like shotgun blast, kind of, actually not shotgun blast, because that's like the triangle, right? This is like the point blank from Barrett, kind of 2x3 block, that has a chance to stun. Now what I'm curious is the name of the ability is stunning thrust. What is the animation for this where you're thrusting to hit the wide area? Like, in what world is that? Does she like jump to the side and go across people, or like how does, I don't know how you're doing that direction, but
probably some wind effect or something.
If she goes like this and slashes, I swear to God, because it's called stunning thrust. But
Right.
whatever. Have either of you seen her do a whole lot censor EX yet in PvP or in other content? Or is this just kind of like a, when we get to see it, it'll be kind of cool to see, otherwise, meh.
I got my ass kicked by her in arena while climbing. I don't know, like a week or two back. Has it been 2 weeks? But like because of her surefire burst, I was using like an evasion team or whatever, and yeah, she just like one shot, and I was like, oop, well, there it goes. Yeah, so I think she is a little underestimated by people because you don't really see her that often anymore. And I just want to shout out like the 40% AP decrease the consumption on the leap strike upgrade. That's like, holy shit, that's almost 50%. So like looking at 36 go down to like below 20 or whatever. That's,
Yeah.
or like around that. Using her on a double quicken team just makes it that much easier to just like go crazy. So I know people like Vinny or other big fans of Glacial, I think they're gonna make a lot of use out of this.
Locke, any thoughts?
I mean, I've seen her once in live PvP against Winnie, and I lost.
I'm sorry.
So
I was gonna say, I feel like
I only lost so far. But anyway, I mean, she seems really interesting, but like it would be great if she had like some thunder resist or something, you know, or additional missile resist, because it starts at -15 missile, -10 thunder, and I think it'll be hard to use in lightning. But I mean, lightning is going down anyway in terms of how common it is, because Earth is so popular now. So I don't know, it's yet to be seen. I haven't
God.
EX'd her yet, but like the very first CM I used her, like I actually did a full water team my first CM, and it's really like her, and I used her often. But then after, you know, lightning is everywhere, it's just really hard to use her. So we'll see. Hopefully the meta changes such that lightning is not everywhere and I can use her again, because I really like her.
Right now might be the best time,
yeah.
to be honest.
Yeah.
Like this CM, I don't know.
I used her in a double quicken team the same time Vinny was. I can't remember. It was like, I think it was like CM 4 or 5 or something, with like the flat like
with the weird like hole in the middle, like there was a guild battle at one point.
Yeah, I had to try it out, and I did really well, but I never ran into Vinny, and I was kind of sad that we didn't get like a mirror match or anything.
But all right, Rev, yes, got an upgrade. She has an upgrade to her passive. It went from Holy Knight's protection to Holy. What's that?
I said it sucks because it's just hate increase.
Okay, I was gonna say Holy Knight's martyrdom. Increased chance of. Yep, it's just hate 5. Nice because it's passive, and like the older units just don't have these easy hate on a stick things without spending their entire AP bar on taunting blade. But yeah, it's
good, man.
It's a PvE change. Yeah,
a year ago, that's what we were asking for. We're like, give us a hate buff on a passive, for fuck's sake. And so the fact that she has it, I can't really complain. You're probably always going to be using that unless you're like an evade tank that uses like move 4 or something.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess if you're doing evade, yeah, Blade Soul Thief Lore. But But one of my favorite skills in the game, Saintly Cross, which is a 196 mod, really weird. Got an upgrade to Blinding Cross, which arguably more lame name, but still costs 40 AP also, which sucks. However, chance to blind for 3 turns. It increases personal evasion rate for 3 turns. I think it's a really cool skill to kind of. She is one of the units where if you're trying to be cost efficient and you're doing either charm or like some kind of like evasion status build, she's perfect for that kind of thing. So giving her the hate and giving her this way to blind to support the evasion, and then also just straight up evasion is really cool. Granted, she does just have Shadowcast, so that's something that you might stack on top of this, but not stack, but might replace this the evasion buff with. The blind is really nice. I think people still underestimate blind a lot. Bedeviling Blade is her job 25 skill. Pretty dope name on that one. It's pretty short range, so it doesn't really help her there. Range 2. But it's a 170 mod that has a chance to inflict confusion, and it decreases their AP. Damaging AP is always good. The skill only costs 22 AP, and it has 4 uses, so you can kind of be really annoying and spam it a bit. Also, she's a unit that you probably have 97 faith with, because you are trying to do a lot of statuses with her, whether it be, a lot of time it's just Steel Heart, but that just, having a confusion attached to her new skill is nice, because you're already supporting status effects with how she already is. So I do like these upgrades. I think they're cool. I don't know how like good they make her. She gets a little bit of agility on her EX board, which is always nice to help as well for units that aren't like URs or high premium units. But yeah, you said you saw some Revius that impressed you, Daniel?
Yes. Yeah. So I saw some Lightning teams this CM already that were using Revius, that 120 Revius. It was like Cloud, Frederica, and Revius like every time. And I was like, wow, nice decision making there. She was pretty effective. Like, you have to pay attention to her, if not solely for Steelheart. Like, you have to make sure you're like, all right, if I'm going to be in 3 range of her, I'm not really too worried about her damage, although she can get like some decent damage on a lightning team. But like, I have to make sure that like either I have a way to deal with getting charmed. So I think that threat just still makes her a potent MR to use, honestly. The fact that she can go evade and be a tank, I mean, that's always been a cool thing. Nothing's really changed. Like, she's still effective. She gets more stats. And honestly, the thing about Blinding Cross that I like is that you're going to be using it like in the thick of melee, right? And it's like
Right.
sometimes
She gets in there.
sometimes you don't really have the chance to rebuff your evasion. Like, using a TP skill, you're like, oh shit, like I'll help myself survive, but I'm not doing damage. It's kind of like a tempo decrease,
Mhm.
But having this evade buff, it's not as high as Shadowcast, which, let's be honest, you're going to be on Thief subjob for Steelheart. So Shadowcast is 42. This evasion rate buff is 30 for Blind and Cross, but the chance to blinds and the damage mod, I think, really make it a contender for one of her most used skills in terms of like a commonly used skills. So the fact that you can keep your evade buff up while attacking, as long as you have the AP for it, because it's kind of a chunk of AP to use, I think it's a really nice addition to her.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that is a good point. Attaching the effect, even though it's a lower value, it's like a 2-for-1. It's kind of like the VCs, right? Like the VCs for party effects have like a half effect plus like the full effect. This is like her full and half effect of a TP skill and AP skill kind of mushed together. Lock, anything from you on Revius? That you didn't like
Not
it?
really. I mean, I haven't really used her much or looked at her. But knowing that she'll fit in a 230 cost team with Frederica and Cloud, I think it makes sense. So that I might actually consider using her. I went with Fiona instead, so I didn't really look at Revius, and I could only afford one for this class match, so I haven't really looked at her. So I don't have any other comments on that.
Nope, you're good. All right, Crace, or is it Crace? Or are we just saying Crace? So I hate the spelling of the name. I have no idea what's correct. I don't remember hearing it in the story, but whatever. Upgrades. Concentrate is up to Concentrate Sharp. She gets some crit rate. Her double shot also has an upgrade. Damage is the same. Increase critical damage by 25 before the hit. So that's kind of cool, even if she misses. Then decrease AP consumption by 50 for 1 turn when performing a critical hit for self. Listen, if you're going to put this kind of effect on a skill, don't give it crit damage, give it crit chance. Like, come on. Help her out a little bit here, like to make that second effect actually happen. I guess there's 2 hits, so you have, a little bit like a double chance, almost 2 get a critical, but really meh upgrade for me, I think. I don't think she's really doing a ton of output, so I don't know. Then her job 25 skill is Kneecapper. Fantastic name, A+. But 165 damage mod. Piercing, which is always nice, so it's kind of like a Sidewinder. Although the indicator on Watt VCalc would not suggest that. It doesn't have like all the boxes highlighted, so does it only do 2 units? I don't even know. But
Yeah, I don't know.
So I gotta be clear on this one. So decreases jump 2 for 3 turns when performing critical strike. Can that just trap units behind a height 1 wall if they only have 1 jump? Like, can they just not traverse anything?
I think it's minimum 1.
Is it minimum 1?
It's minimum 1, yeah.
Okay, because it doesn't say that, and that'd be hilarious if they were just like stuck behind walls, like trying to, they can't even get over a 1 height. I think that would actually make this skill amazing. And there could be some serious
shut them down,
like ramifications for getting hit by that. But if it doesn't reduce you to 0 jump, this skill is just okay, I think. Like maybe it really messes up some units like your Zazan or Katone or something that are used to going over walls. But I think by the time you hit somebody with this skill, you're kind of in danger anyway, because you're within like taunting blade range. So
I just checked Sidewinder. They pretty much copied the skill over, except for reducing the range height by 1. It's only range height 1, and but yeah, it works the same way as Sidewinder does.
Okay, so yeah, they're okay upgrades. Nothing really great. Although the concentrate sharp is kind of shit. I guess there's your crit rate there, so she always has a crit rate up. And then with the, I don't know. I'm reaching here to try to figure out if she's good or not. Are you guys have any like positive things to say, or just kind of meh?
Yes, but Locke, I'm interested in hearing what you say.
I mean, similar as before, I haven't really looked at her too much. I mean, it's nice that she's 50 cost, so there's a little bit more application to use her in 230 cost teams. But still, I mean, for the reasons that I don't usually look at water units, I didn't really like. I noticed that skill, and the first thing I thought was that, oh, you can trap them with jump, right? Like if you remove the jump 1. But then I heard that it doesn't work, so I'm like, okay, well, nah.
Rip.
So
yeah, basically.
Nothing really to add there. Yeah,
like, that'd be a really unique effect, right? Like there's not a whole lot that does jump down. Like it would have been something really cool and really compelling to make people want to use her, because she gets the 3 range passive in her passive, so she can snipe it from a ways with that. But
I'm checking to see. So she doesn't get the slow arrow, which I thought would have been really cool. Like the jump down and the move down, just like shutting people down at a range. I didn't want to sound so excited when I said I had something positive. The 2 things I think of when I think of Krace is other culture references. So the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, like master guy, whatever.
This is not where I thought this was going at all.
Yes, like him, or like Man on Fire, Denzel Washington, like Creasy Bear. I don't know if you guys know these references, but that's who I think of when I see Krace or Crease.
Definitely also, not, but I appreciate it.
Also, her TMR is kind of one of the best gun skins, so fight me. But yeah, I pretty much I think you're gonna probably use her on sniper a lot. And yeah, I mean, like, she's a decent MR, but suffers from the whole water syndrome where like you get one shot by lightning. So yeah.
All right, Ryu. Continuing on the missile upgrades, he also gets his concentrate upgrade, except there's a different name. It's called Still Heart. So same as always, except it has decreased AP consumption by 20. I think that's amazing to have attached to a passive that like you're almost always gonna have on. Just if you just tack on AP consumption decrease, I'm all for it. Definitely learned to appreciate that more over time. His arm shot becomes Arm Buster. Fantastic. Like, some of these names are amazing and some of these names are such shit. This one's amazing. Like what was the one for Winter Victor that I hated? It was was like
Oh,
super
God.
long range. Yeah, super long range. Fucking dumb, but this one is
So lame.
fantastic. Arm Buster. It still has a chance to disable, but it is 250 mod instead of 200, which is like there's not a lot of skills. All right, let me back up. Some jobs have a lot of skills that do similar things with different effects tacked onto them. A lot of them being gunner jobs like this, or if you're doing like a job like Lord, Warrior, whatever. Like they have similar things with like I don't always remember what the tacked on effects are. But I always know that Arm Shot is the most damaging skill that they have. So if you want to do just damage, you go with Arm Shot. Now it is definitely the choice for highest damage. Like that is crazy. 250 mod on something that doesn't sacrifice your HP. It doesn't have like some crazy other downside, and it still has a chance to disable. Like this is an impressive skill.
Base 5 range.
Yeah, base 5 range. Now it also has a range height of 2, which is super important because another part of doing gunner calculations is trying to figure out, all right, if I stand here, can I hit him? Nope. If I stand here, can I hit him? Because I'm just like some weird wall stuff. But range height 2, just pop him. It's fantastic. That's an excellent upgrade. And then another decently named ability, Absolute Cover. Reduces the damage taken 100% for one time for self. So he basically just has Mirage. So fuck him. But because I hate Mirage, but that is an excellent skill to have, especially if there's a world where you're facing a lot of lightning teams. Like you just have them on a team and you're in CM, and there's Frederica's and Clouds running around. They probably have roughly the same range, if not more than you. So being able to kind of walk up and be able to prevent one of those things, and maybe rely on a barrier for the second hit, and then you get a turn back, pretty good.
2 costs, so it basically is Mirage. Or 2 casts, not 2 costs. So it basically is Mirage.
Yeah. I like these upgrades a lot. Had we, I guess I'll talk about what I was about to say later. Actually, we'll just stick with what we're saying for now. Yeah, I think it's really good. Now seeing these for myself, I actually kind of want to do this. But what do you guys think? Have you seen one used yet? Have you? Resources recently have been kind of sucky for EX jobs, so I haven't been doing a lot of luxury units.
I really want to see X Ryu against X Fina, like a light versus dark team. We're seeing a lot of Jaden and Fina nowadays, and I'm wondering if I was about to say Vistral, X Ryu, I used them at the same time back in the day, can actually hold his own. Like, you know, dark teams are just so useful and so effective. It's like, especially with that arm buster like enhancement, like Fina's going down. You know she is. She's always been like, I'm not even gonna call her a glass cannon. She's just so fragile. She's a fortune cookie or something. I don't know. But
it's fantastic.
It's sad. Like even with like a mastery TMR buff, I'm thinking like the armbuster attack from Ryu, like with a decent enough like vision card and Esper arrangement, you know, I think it'll probably one shot her like 100% of the time. But so I'm really interested to see that. It's notable that he has 4 casts of that, so it's not like one of those you get it twice like Taunting Blade and then you're done. So between that and Mirage, yeah, it's crazy. Like you would expect Ryu to not really survive, kind of the way that, you know, you wouldn't really expect Fina to survive, but the fact that he's not really an evade unit and he doesn't really have many defenses, so the one thing I'm looking out for is the barrier break. It's probably going to demolish him because it removes Mirage, so it's going to remove this as well.
At least he has double shot to kind of get around that, or like his teammates could. I mean, if you build him against or alongside something like Garvel has dark missile things that can chain with him to set him up and potentially help break barriers with the double hits. So there could be that for teams. I think putting him on a team with like Dwayne, Black Rose Helena, and himself, and there's a lot of vision cards that just like dark damage, and there's just assorted stats up across the team, and you could easily do a sort of a balanced mix build. I think you could really have him almost like the Overwatch in the back, like if they're approaching from a different way, like throw a status effect here, snipe them from there. And you could even like, I mean, he has like red mage sub with jamming thrust too, just for some utility if you want to use
Okay.
that. You don't even have to
Yeah.
have it on anything else. Like he could Asuna in the back. He's like this awesome
Yeah.
like supportive unit in like weird ways for the other like amazing dark units. I think so. I can't imagine someone targeting him over the Dwayne running at them or the Black Rose Helena running at them. So
Without suffering the consequences.
right,
Well,
right. He's like, oh, by the way, 250 mod. Oh, and you're disabled.
Yeah. I mean, he's no Fina. Like he doesn't have that awesome healing. He doesn't have full life or anything, but he can still support at range as long as he can get off a static effect or a status effect,
That's a
or just rain down the damage. And it's funny. Like Logi mentioned in chat, Rairu Prompto. That would be an interesting combination, especially for limited cost team. So yeah, Dark Missile chaining is going to be interesting to see.
And Locke, any thoughts about Rairu?
I really like him. I think it would be one of the units that I would be like kind of interested in EXing. But I mean, when Ketone came out, I was really interested in her too. And I think only last CM was when I finally had enough resources to max her. So he looks really interesting. I really like that Mirage type skill. But I don't know when I would actually get around to EXing him. But yeah, the 250 cost with the height range too, that's like golden. I really like that. But again, I don't know. Like I just don't know when it'll be done. But I would like to
Right.
at some point.
Imagine if it like
Luxury
also
plan.
had lower AP, just like it goes down to like
Oh,
24
geez,
or
yeah.
20 or something.
I mean,
Anyway,
he gets the decreased AP consumption though.
that is true actually. Fair. Going back to that, which I already forgot about. I mean, there you go. Imagine actually he could put on the acquired AP. Oh, that's acquired AP. Damn. I'll say acquired AP up and the other
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like 70 reduction. Holy shit. That'd be nuts. I mean, it basically is, right? Like you're gaining more, so you spend kind of.
Was
not
it 9S's TMR that reduces? No, maybe that's the agility up from 2B. There's like a TMR that reduces AP consumption, but anyways.
But yeah, so I actually am pretty impressed with this upgrade, and that is definitely, I'll keep my eye on for if I have like a bunch of dark stuff laying around that I'm not using. Although I kind of have to save up for Golbez, so we'll see what happens there. But all right, moving on to Victora. This is one I'm pretty excited about. I think she has some pretty nice stats here, and she's an ice unit. Excellent. The only thing I don't like about this though is the fact they upgraded her counter. Like upgrading a counter that's not that great anyway. Like Dragon's Blade is a good counter, but you have to be within a certain range of them.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the EX does remove the linear part of it, so it's as long as they're just within 2 in general. But you just upgrade a skill instead. Like make her horizontal jump lock on like another one. But I guess instead she gets a different upgrade of that though. Horizontal jump becomes shattering dive, which is a defense break. In addition to her normal mod. Now, this doesn't lock on, right? I made that joke and I realized I didn't actually double check. I don't think it does.
It doesn't lock on, but it does apply the break, even if it misses.
Probably right. Because before the damage. So that's a pretty cool upgrade. I mean, horizontal jump is probably one of the most used skills for Dragoon main jobs anyway. Unless they have a crazy EX skill like she does, which is Frost Reaver. So I feel like classically when Glaciella came out, everyone's like, oh man, Dragoons are just like these inferior versions of this Valkyrie job because they're instant and they're AoE and whatever. Well, she's got it now. So she basically has, was it cross, whatever, what's it called? I can't remember the name now. But anyway, she basically has the, yeah, thank you, Leap Strike, except
Leap Strike?
slightly shorter range on the AoE. It only goes in 2 in every direction, but it's still pretty damn good. 165 mod with a chance to Frostbite, which is one of my favorite additions to the game. Like, the amount of times I've just gambled with Curry and hit like a Frostbite and it completely changes the game is just absurd. Like, it completely changes targeting. Like, you Frostbite this person, you see their APs at like 40, you're like, alright, they got one more skill and then they're out of AP. So you can start focusing on the other carry, kill them, and then by that time the other one's like auto-attacking because they can't do anything. Fantastic ability, I think. And the fact that it is instant is just, oh, so insane. Range height 2 is excellent. AoE height 1, so it has a little bit of versatility in where you can aim it. Overall, I do like the upgrade, and I think her stats in general, she just got a lot of extra HP, and her attack is a lot higher now, so it's just kind of a good overall kind of updating of the unit to match other stat blocks in addition to having a relevant ability. I just wish the counter was a little better or a different upgrade, but still
counter
overall
upgrades kind
pretty
of
happy.
suck, but it is what it
Yeah.
is.
Right. Although I guess I feel like if they would have given like Dragonskin 42% attack and then like some kind of pierce attack or defense pen or something, maybe that's like too much. So I guess
Yeah.
maybe they thought it would be, she had enough already. They just tack this on, but I don't know. I guess I didn't actually say what the upgraded reaction does though. Decreases AP for target and increases AP for self, so it saps some AP basically, minus 15 plus 15. It's cool. It's the one I'm using, probably. Not quick action. So, I mean... Alright. I'll take it. I have seen her a bunch this CM, so I'll talk about that next week, but do you guys have any other thoughts about her just from an upgrade perspective?
It's interesting how she ends up at like top 17 in terms of attack on the index, and like we all say when we're referring to the index, it's not the base, it's just like the total, like what the stat ends up at. I don't know what her base attack is, but the fact that she has that increased level of power, like whenever we hear about ex OG Victoria being used, it's always like, holy shit, she's doing so much more damage now. I think that's a really impressive upgrade for her, like
Blow up.
in general, because like like using her in the past, granted I have struggled using her and just in terms of like I kind of slow built her for months, whereas you guys, I don't know, Block, I'm sure even like you had her max before I did, but I know Prodigy like she's
Block
been
and I
like,
used the shit out of Victor at the
Yeah,
early
we
game.
yeah, so like but for me, like even like Snipe Dagger, like the rest of her main job skills and stuff, like sometimes she struggled doing damage, so the fact that she gets that, like she's like a contender in terms of physical attacker nowadays is really interesting, especially on top of these mastery abilities from whatever elements units now. Like everybody's getting like the HP up, ice or like element attack up. I think it really helps her out.
I think she's always been a good double quicken target because of her really impactful LB. If you can just bring her in now and just run up once, use your bells or whatever, pick up a crystal, but then she can do a jump to get even closer and to line up new angles on the LB is another just useful thing she can do in those combo teams. Because previously she kind of felt like, I'm going to quicken in, better hit this charm, and I die, and that's it.
Right.
But now she can actually she can hang.
I think the last thing to note for me for her is I really wish that either they gave her something else for upgrade instead of like her Dragon's Blade. I wish they gave her some way of surviving so that she can actually use her reaction, because she seems like
Yeah.
if she doesn't evade, she's like a soldier, whereas they get like one shot.
Unless
Like,
you're against missile teams, though, she's
yeah,
pretty good against missile.
yeah, that's fair. But like, if you're getting hit by a missile user, you're probably not going to be in Dragon's Blade range. So
Also fair.
um, yeah, it's just like, like if she can survive a hit or two and have the chance to do the Dragon's Fang counter, it's only 20%. It's not a 30% like crazy proc chance, but yeah, people have been getting trolled with Dragon's Blade since Thancred, like the
Yep.
first month of the game. So when it hits, it's just like, holy shit, I wish I would have gotten out of the to get the range of that. So yeah, it's still kind of a sleeper because you're not going to use counter slash or quick action. So
All right, moving on to the sort of Jaden era of releases here. So Diamond Coat was a raid gear we got recently. I think I'm just going to be bold here and say Shield is the only version people are building, right?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yes.
We can agree on that. Good, cool. Increase acquired AP 30%. Like I said, always excellent. If you give me more AP when I use TP skills, you make my stuff cost less. Always happy. Then it's missile resist penetration, which I definitely read wrong the first time. I thought it was a resistance of 15, and I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? But definitely did not realize it was only equipable by range jobs, so, I mean, which makes sense. It's missile pen. Cool niche piece of gear. I kind of want it for Barrett, and I kind of regret. I don't even know if I'll be able to build a full one, but yeah, solid tool to have, but not like super mandatory for everybody. I don't think. Any like thoughts that are more
I completely
sort of
disagree. So
I use this is number one priority for me in terms of using
yeah,
it
same
on the
with me.
missile. Yeah.
Like it was the only piece of gear I'm like, yeah, I think I'm gonna get at least 2, if not 3 of these. Like that's just
Really?
solid.
Oh shit! Wow. I was like, one. It's a UR piece of gear.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's very
I already
good. I
have.
just, it's not like a, I'm saying not everybody needs it, as in, like, every person doesn't use missile teams.
Yeah, yeah.
I think every
Right,
missile unit wants this, probably, but
Of
not,
course. Yeah.
not every person, like, player.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of applications. I mean, I probably will just build 2, probably won't build 3. But the reason I think it's good is because like it's like similar to what's it called? Like Black Rose Helena's.
Wait, real quick, how would you build 3?
You'd have to build it on the next time it comes around.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like, what are you doing right now? Like, what is this sorcery? I guess maybe the one in the shops had like a paid one or something to help out, but
No, you can only build 1 plus 5. You can't even build 2. Like the first time the raid is around, you have to wait until the next time comes around. You have to buy more recipes.
Yeah.
right. I just didn't know if in the shop like there was like a 2K paid for a +4 or something.
Yeah. So, but I think it's just really good because like, if I'm going to build like a missile team, right? I definitely want to be able to pierce some of that missile resistance. That's why Frederica is so good. So if I was building a team like Frederica plus Lucia, which probably would be usable when Lucia gets her EX, I would definitely want this in both of them, right? And the tank could be whoever. But for PvE stuff, there's also a lot of stages that have like missile resistance. So I would want, if I'm building a missile team, because they also have like something else that I need to use missile for, I would probably go with at least 3, right? So I most likely I would just get 2, but I'll probably buy the recipes to make a third one if I need to at some point. But I think it's not only that. I think it's also like the AP consumption is really nice as well.
Just like
so I think
barrage.
that's I think it's just like a bonus that I think it's very useful for missile teams. Like just in general, it doesn't, not even just the missile penetration, but the AP is also I think huge, and it also has the stats of like a platinum robe, and I've been using
Right.
platinum robe +2 for like a lot of people. So it's not, I don't need the missile resist on the platinum robe. I just use the platinum robe, right? And this has comparable stats to it. So it's like 3 items in one, in my opinion, and that's why I was like, wow, this is like really good. But only equipable by missile units. But still, I think it's very good.
Yeah, the fact that it's missile resist penetration, it kind of reminds me of Black Rose Helena's staff, where like we did calculations back in the day where it was like as long as you can expect to see magic resist of your target like 25% or higher, like the resist pen is better than like the attack up. So the fact that you can use this armor for all of the range units, whether they're magic or attack based. So like Fina can use it, right? Jaden can use it.
Yep.
Fina can't use it. She uses bows. But no, actually, sorry. For some reason, I was thinking it was a gun for a second. But yeah, so I think it's really nice that it's not pigeonholed into like attackers or like magic users or whatever. So I really like that.
That should be really good on Rosa.
I agree.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that one? All right. I guess I missed a boat for sure on that because I did not go hard on the raid like I should have. But we're gonna jump into this VC real quick because it is unrelated to Jaden. It is the Tranquil Warmth, which also came from the raid, from the rare, and then you had to do the quest to get all the shards and stuff. 3 agility, always nice to see agility on VCs, especially it's an MR VC with agility, which I think is cool. Bestow gives pierce attack, party attack gives pierce attack and some accuracy, and then also 15 slash resist. If there's a cost limited CM, I can see this being decent, especially if you're going to build a team with like Victor and RNA in the future. But it's very, very specific. It's very, I mean, you have to be using Pierce units to really get much use out of this, especially on the Bestow. Like, only having Bestowed of an attack type really limits kind of where you put this on a team, and feel while feeling good about it. Cool tool. Not super, like, crazy thrilled, but unless there's something I'm missing from either of you guys.
Might be useful on Lastwell, on Dragoon sub, as well as Victoria, but yeah, definitely niche.
Yeah,
longer.
limited application, same thing. But I mean, Mask of Deceit is just so good on Victoria that I
Right.
can't really see myself using this.
Right. Like it'd have to be on like the second unit, but then even then, I think RNA in the future gets a crazy VC, and then you just use something else on the team like Leona's Castle for the cost or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jaden. So, Locke, did you pull Jaden and build
Yes.
him? Okay.
Yeah,
Do you
I
want
did.
to take this one?
Sure. So Jaden, let me just get to him.
And by the way, as soon as for the viewers, as soon as we finish talking about Jaden and his weapon and VC, we'll be jumping into the viewer questions. I'll be basically going down the list on Discord, and then also simultaneously alternating with chat if anybody has questions here.
So Jaden, so what I really like about him, I mean, he's a magic missile unit, but I don't think that's like it sounds unique in its concept, but I don't really think so. I mean, the calculation is exactly the same, but the only thing is now your attack is magic, and instead of defense, you're reduced by spirit. But I don't think that in itself is unique enough because we don't really see all these like 100 defense builds anymore anyway because there's so much defense penetration and spirit penetration. So I don't think that's unique enough about him to warrant me pulling for him. However, I really like that his sub job is Red Mage and he has Jamming Thrust, which is a 200 mod skill. So I think that's really what makes Jaden so powerful because, first of all, he has the same range or very similar range to Federica. So he's going to be popping those like magic bullets at you from far away. And he also has two skills that is not restricted by line of sight or by height. Like, typically gunner skills those are the limitations. But he has Golden Magi Shot and Magi Blast, which are both, it doesn't require line of sight to use either of them. So he's able to, pop, similar to like Frederica can pop Sharpshoot, he can pop these two from like far away. And by the time you finally get up to him, like with like a King Mont or like something else that is like heavily missile resistant, he'll just use Jamming Thrust and do like a ton of damage. So I think that's really what makes Jaden so powerful, the ability to have both. And of course, when he's Red Mage, he also gets things like Kura and Asuna and Sleep. And he also does have spirit penetration and missile resist penetration on one of his main skills. And on his limit burst, he has breaking barriers. So again, he's similar to like Black Rose Helena and Elena, what we talked about, where it's really hard to reduce the damage that he does. You can mitigate it, but it's hard to get like 100% resistance to him because he will always find a way to do damage, unless you do like 100% light resist or something. So that's in a nutshell.
Can you imagine
Jaden.
that? Light resist, Jesus.
In a nutshell, that's why I really like him, and I think he's really good.
And has a 100% hit shot. He basically has a sharpshoot. It's not like the range versatility of a sharpshoot, but it's like, or I guess maybe it's comparable to unevading or whatever. What's it called? Unevading. God damn it. Names today.
Unavailable pain.
Unevadable pain. Thank you. Unevading pain. Anyway, he has a sure hit built into his main job as well, which is really cool. So he does have literally the whole suite of tools you want to find in a unit. Nuts.
It's really cool, and it's really annoying when you're facing against it with an evade team because you're like, you're trying to, it's like a sharpshoot but like magic based. It doesn't do as much damage obviously, but it also doesn't cost as much, especially with his AP decreased AP consumption. So yeah, it's annoying trying to approach him, even with like courage or re-raise or whatever. But he is kind of squishy even through like damage mitigation, so that's definitely an issue. I also do like how his LB is like a magic barrier break, even if it doesn't hit. So I mean, I can't really think of any magic barrier evade units, but it's still useful.
Elena?
I mean,
we just talked about it.
Are you gonna use anti-magic wall on her? I mean, like if she's using that, she's kind of bruisery, right?
I'm just finding
I mean,
the one thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you use Mastery's TMR on her, from like her like a support unit on our team, yeah, maybe they'll be useful.
Just being a dick. Yeah, he is a really impressive unit. Wait, Locke, do you have more to add about him?
No, that's really it. I mean, regarding his TMR, I think it's unique that we don't have anything like it before. But I haven't really decided if it's powerful or not. I haven't leveled it up. I don't know. I
think there's some math to be done on that one to like
exactly.
really figure out how often the 2,500 is more than a percentage.
Yeah, right. I don't think it's worth it, but it possibly might be against like units that are targeting him or whoever's using it that are built to be tanky. So like you end up not taking as much damage. Like the less damage you take and that gets reduced from the shield, the better, right? So
Yeah.
like it might last more than 3 attacks on bruisers or tanks, and that might make it better than the other damage mitigation stuff like Mashri's TMR or whatever. But in my opinion, it doesn't stack with those other shields. So that's kind of what's holding it back. But I mean, it's
Right.
an interesting, like it's something new we haven't seen. Well, I mean, we've seen it in JP, obviously for the last 4 months or whatever. But yeah, could be better.
I also like
At
that
least
his
if it was AOE or something, I think it would be
Yeah.
much more decent.
You
that's
might see
fair.
missile users using it because of the missile attack buff, and maybe like they don't get part of the cross AoE or whatever of the other damage mitigation stuff.
I like too that one of his buffs gets upgraded to 4 turns. Like sometimes that extra turn is just so game changing, especially when people are like mentally tracking if you are in live PvP where it's like, all right, it's been a couple turns from here. It's like, all right, that's a 3rd turn. Buff's gone. It's like you have that extra mental tax of another turn on him. And the fact that it's just a range buff too. Like, does he have his range to? Okay, so that gives him like the 3rd range. He has to actually use the buff to match other missile units, but once you're using Magic Blast, I think it's such fucking long range.
Yeah, he doesn't feel like a 100 cost unit for me. He feels like a 90 cost unit.
Ooh, burn. Not disrespectful now. I think it's the 100 cost comes in the versatility, like the fact that he can handle all forms of the potential damage mitigation against him. I guess except for the light resist, but
yeah, who can handle that stuff?
I think he's worth it if you don't build him strictly as a missile unit. Like if you put his VC on him, if you put Frederica's Dream on somebody else, and so on and so on, he will act like I think any other missile unit. Like he'll probably do comparable damage to Frederica, and that's not really a 100 cost unit, But I think if you build him like with like light attack instead, we're using the Scion's VC, so jamming thrust will also do a ton of damage. I think that and his self buff that gives him 60% magic attack up, which is
60% magic, right?
Yeah, sorry, yeah, magic, not magic.
Like the actual stat, yeah.
And he also has very high agility as well. And when you're using March of the Stag, that's himself and allies are getting high agility. I think all of that together will probably do like I think he could be worth the 100 cost for that. Also, like I've seen him do like jamming thrust for like 6k on King Mont like all the time, like 5-6k. So I think if you build him that way, like the first time I was fighting against a King Mont, I was trying to take out the supporting units first because I was like, it's gonna be hard to kill him, right? And by the time King Mont reached me, I only had enough AP to cast jamming thrust once, and like one time, and it's like half his HP is gone. I was like, shit, I should have just saved up my AP and cast jamming thrust twice, and he would have been dead, right? That's so like I had to actually like think of him not only as a ranger but also like as a very powerful mage. But then you have to also build him that way in your VC choices, right? Otherwise it's just going to be Frederica. So I think that's, in my opinion, the difference.
It's fair. I think I'll explore, or I'll enjoy exploring various configurations of teams with him once I have him maxed out. I think I only have him at like 99 right now. He's not even level 99. He's just like, he's MLB'd. So I haven't got to do his EX stuff yet, but he definitely is. There's a lot of exciting thoughts based around the theory crafting we just discussed and a couple things I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of them actually, but I've seen a little bit. The pure versatility in his offense is really cool. It's funny how like impactful jamming thrust has been through the history of this game. Like thinking about our history with our team comps and how jamming thrust was always kind of like a build around, and it's still you're just like, oh yeah, he's not amazing, but he does have jamming thrust, so he's kind of amazing.
It's weird how like Rain can be a nice counter to him, and Rain's been out for like a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's fair, yeah.
The other 100 cost units like stand out to me for various reasons, but I just wish that he was more durable.
That's fair. Talking about his VC, I wonder what you guys think in terms of how much more viability. JT's got to be the best move in the game. Yeah, E30G. Yeah, I probably would go along those lines where jamming thrust is one of the best moves in the game. Okay, so decent HP, decent low to middle, decent, I guess, magic. Gives some dex though, which is cool. Gives light attack on bestow. It's what, 15? And then Jaden himself gets 10% HP. His acquired AP goes up by 30%, which is nice. Party effect. It's the light dex for when you max it. But I think the most important thing here is the AoE resist 20, so it fills in that hole. I think it's what, Carbuncle, or no, Bahamut and Great Stag together will give you the 20 unit and 20 AoE resist. So that's pretty cool to have that option now, and you probably have Bahamut on the team that he's on anyway for all the magic and stuff. But then the missile attack up is also a nice bonus, but he's kind of, I guess Fina can benefit from it as well. What other light... Are there light missile units I'm forgetting? I know there's got to be. Light missile. Maybe not. Maybe it's just them.
I think it is just them.
Unless there's like a weird sub job nobody uses kind of thing, like a magic unit with gunner for some reason, or...
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it is just them. But it's a pretty cool VC, and I'm actually really pissed because I went to go buy it today, and I realized that I let the 2K guaranteed banner expire.
Oh no.
So I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Yeah.
Oh, Camillo, sorry.
Oh, Camillo.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
sniper. Yeah.
So I'm really kind of down now because I did intend to get his VC, but I was kind of waiting for whatever. I didn't realize it was expiring. I'm an idiot. So kind of pissed about that. Yeah, good VC. If you guys have any thoughts, you can jump in. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to his weapon real quick.
I like that it's the Dex 35 for light on top of Smite the Dark for the luck in terms of like accuracy, you know. That's kind of less.
Yeah, I can see like if you're not cost restricted, you can go like Yuna, Elena, Jade, or like I keep saying her name different. Elena. Jesus Christ.
Keep saying Elena, and you're killing me.
I'm like mentally trying to correct it, but I correct it in different ways because I like alternate. Anyway, Elena, Yuna, and Jaden with Bahamut, Smite, and this card. Just like it's a super wide suite of like resistances and bonuses and accuracy and damage, and obviously that's why they're all high cost though, and probably not gonna be able to use them ever together in a CM like that, but pretty good. But moving on to the Quasar, which is the gun you get from his event. This thing with, I swear, if you say it's Quasar, I swear, I'm pretty sure it's Quasar. I saw your face, I'm like, nah. Increased missile damage 15, but it's actually a magic gun. It gives 181 magic. He's the only... Oh no, I guess it's not a light weapon, right? So never mind, he's not the only unit that can use it. But he's kind of the only magic missile gun person, except now this makes me want to build the jamming thrust red mage Ryryu. This is what I was gonna say earlier. If you put this on Ryryu, you can actually make his red mage job probably do some damage, because I got him up to like 600 magic like 6 months ago when I did a theoretical build, and that was with like shit that we had back then. We have a lot more VCs now. He's EX now. I granted his magic probably isn't that high from his EX. I kind of want to revisit that and see if it's possible to make that happen. But jank aside, I think it's pretty. I mean, it's well statted for just something that you're gonna need for Jaden. I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed that the weapon for Jaden is this little like energy pistol and not like the fucking Gatling gun. But I mean, hey, we can't have all the flavor things. We have multiple ice units with fire LBs, so I guess we, you know.
Yeah.
Wait for them to just do like skin weapons, weapon skins, sorry. And they charge you to get like the rotary cannon or whatever in the future. I wouldn't put them past that.
Anything else on this weapon though? Like, I mean, I can't imagine doing aim. Maybe someone does crit if there's like a really specific thing. I don't know. I think it's just a magic gun. Like that's what we're doing with it. Magic version. The units it's used on, which the unit it's used on, kind of won't use the other ones. I don't know. Quasar. Jesus Christ, that's what you're...
It's I'm studying to be a space scientist. Like, trust me, it's Quasar.
Google.
But yeah, I don't really see going aim or critical. I would go magic all day.
Where is this? Where's? Nope.
All right, you can look it up later.
Nope. Doing it now.
Doing it now. We're doing it live.
All right. You're right. All right. So it gave me the phonetics before I even clicked it. You spelled it differently, but it's the same meaning. All right. So, real quick, I'm gonna run to the bathroom. If you guys want to quick scroll through the questions, get an idea of what's coming, you can. And then we will get to viewer questions in just a momento.
Share stream.
Well, you too.
I guess so.
I'll pull it down. or you guys, we just all leave. Oh my god, we did all leave. Empty chair stream. Hey, it could be empty chair stream, or I mean, we could all jump in some hot tubs, right? That's how that works. Make the money, the real money. What do you think about that, Locke?
About what?
Should we do a hot tub podcast sometime?
Yes, let's definitely do that.
Wait, I gotta ask Daniel too. All right, Daniel, we have an amazing idea. Next time we have a special podcast, maybe for like podcast 69 or something, we do a hot tub podcast.
Empty chair. Oh.
Episode 69, the hot tub edition. Anyway,
man.
all right.
It's all for the viewers.
Oh, I mean, do you know how many people would click on that shit? Be stupid. Then they'd see it's a bunch of dudes and they leave, but it's okay. We got the clicks. All right, so
Maybe 100 more people.
some of these questions we can go deep on. Some we might not. This is where the real time is gonna come in. We've been going for only like an actual like hour and 20 minutes, which is like a normal episode. So this is kind of like a part 2 of this one almost. I'll probably have to upload it in 2 parts, honestly, but. Let's go down. So Lazarus Ajin says first. That's not a question. All right. Mako. I am going to say who asked the question. Hopefully, I mean, if someone's listening on like a tab out and they hear their name come up or something. So Mako, are the teams that you guys are currently running teams that fit your playstyle when you started? As in, if you look back at yourself at the start of the game, did you think you'd run the teams you run today? Kind of, yes, for me, because I still bias my teams and skew them a little more towards being bruisers. I've always been a fan of using bruiser teams where I'll forego a little bit of damage to be able to take some hits and make sure and like that can throw off opponents too. Like if they're used to seeing like a unit as a DPS unit, like imagine Elena always being evade and always being kind of squishy, and you just like build her tank and she comes in, they're like, oh fuck, I can't kill her in 2 shots, or I can't pop her immortal in 2 shots. I really like those kind of builds, and I definitely try to go that route. Now lately I've been really biasing myself towards using ice, like mono ice, and because of that I've had to put like accuracy on Barret, which makes him a little more damage based instead of being like a real bruiser like he could be. I guess it's not as I didn't foresee myself using mono teams that much. Granted, in the beginning of the game we didn't know this was going to be a thing, but I really liked having the variety of types so that I could like cover all of my bases, but I've kind of accepted the fact that you just can't do that anymore, and I'm trying to do as much as I can under the sort of mono ice or mono light umbrella. What about you guys? So Locke, I guess we'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, I started the game with Frederica and Lucia as my first 2 X's, or not X's, but my first 2 level 99 units. And then I went with Brunera because she had a dual gunner sub job, and I went like triple Masal and whatever. But and I think I've kind of stuck to the same kind of style. Like I mean, one of the units that I leveled up was Crowball, and then now Jaden, and I'm using both of them in my CM right now. And I really like the playstyle. I think that's what I started with, and I'm a bit more comfortable with it. I think like even in other games, like if I play like League of Legends or something, a totally different style. Like there are these like range units, right? And those are the units I'm more comfortable with. If I play like these tanks or bruiser types unit, I jump in the wrong moment. I don't know when to commit and when not to. And I sometimes like it's a team-based game. I jump in and then like I die because nobody else followed up. Like I'm a tank. You're supposed to follow up when I'm taking damage, but anyway, the point is like it's hard to get used to styles that you're not comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
Like last time, last CM I played Ketone and You Are Zazan, and I think the third was Phoebe, but I made a ton of mistakes. I didn't, I think I lost like 6 or 7 games in total, and I made a ton of mistakes because it's not something I'm used to, right? Like it's a totally different style. I really like to try out other styles, including bruisers. But the problem is, in my opinion, it seems like Rangers just have a ton of stuff that lets you deal with a lot of things. Like especially snipers, they have like barrier breaks and dispel spreads and guaranteed hit, right? Well, not most snipers, but Crowell does. And now Jaden is kind of similar with the stuff that he has as well, including like Hurai and Asuna. And so it's just like Rangers just have a bunch of things in their kit that allow them to deal with things that come up. And then CM, you don't know who your opponent is, so you want to be able to deal with a bunch of things that come up, right? So that's kind of been there, and that's why I continue to play Rangers, just because I find them, for my style, I feel like that's one of the things that I can best adapt to and deal with. Yeah, I think that's in terms of mono elements, I typically don't play that often. I mean, I think last CM I played 2 of the 3 units for Earth, and the other one was Phoebe, so maybe that counts as mono Earth. But typically, I don't. I usually play three different units anyway, and that's usually been my thing. I am interested in trying out some of these. I think like especially Dark, because I finally got the Maidens of the Rose VC, so that gives me a pretty good answer for evade teams, because that gives you a ton of dexterity and luck, which is accuracy. So I think that might be something I might play at some point. But typically, I haven't really played mono elements that much. And, yeah.
Daniel?
Yeah, so to answer the question, are the teams we're currently running, do they fit the playstyle when we started? I would resoundingly say no. And that's because I knew from the start that I wanted my style to be more fluid than really kind of focused on just one style. And there's actually that's the reason why that I made, like in the PvP server, there's roles specifically for what playstyles that you enjoy playing or that you're good at playing or whatever, so that you can ping those roles and be like, hey, I want to get better at this. Evasion, bruiser, ranged, quicken, etc. For me, like it's intentional that I'm always trying to improve my game at all these different kinds of styles. And it doesn't really help for CM, and that may be why you don't really see me at the top of the leaderboards too much, but I'm almost always like top 100. And it's because I'm not, it's not about, for me, it's not about like doing well in the meta. It's about having like an overall, like above average, like competency level in terms of piloting these different teams, these different units, these different dynamics. So like I may not be doing as well like in different CMs or whatever, because of trying out, all right, now this is the month that I'm doing like double quick and glaciala, or this is the month that I'm doing like my missile teams or whatever. But for me, I think this may be kind of I don't know, hypocrisy or sacrilege or whatever, but like CM for me is not like the highlight. The highlight for me is tournaments.
Sure.
And like I'm training to get better at tournaments, where like if I need to have a certain team setup, I'm ready for that setup. CM I think is too dependent on the meta, and like what people have access to, or what works the best. Reflex. So yeah, definitely not. The teams that I'm playing now don't fit the playstyle that I started like intentionally. But like, so yeah, looking back at the start of the game, like I love Ziza. I was one of the first with the bells, so like that really helped me out back then. Nowadays, everybody's got Mashri's Timar, everybody's got bells. But even back then, I knew I wanted to have like an overall kind of hybrid experience. So to answer your question, like yes, I expected to run the teams that I'm playing today because that was my goal from the start.
From the chat, E30G asked, do you feel that recent restrictions have been doing a good job promoting unit diversity in CM, and what's your ideal cost restriction CM setup? I think you just kind of sort of touched on that. I don't know if you did that on purpose because you saw the chat, but I think I do like the reaction down one that they did for this one, because so it's less feels bad with reflexes and bonds and things that most people consider pretty bullshit. As well as I do like the unit restrictions being low, because that forces, if you do a cost restriction, people just chuck VCs on there to lower it, and it doesn't really restrict what they use unit wise. But if you force it to be unit cost, there you go. Unless they start giving us like that glitch day where it's 220 total. That'd be awesome. But I don't know if that's the right number for like super balanced format. But I think if I had an ideal cost restriction setup, there'd be a lot of combinations. But things I'd look for would be healing down, no quicken, reactions. I do like the reactions being gone. Lower overall cost being like maybe 400 total, like of everything. Really limit people on what they can use for like ideal vision card setups or ideal unit setups, like make them pick and force them to have some diversity in their skill set. I know it'd be the type of thing where it's like, oh well, not everybody has this. It's too fucking late now for that. Like there's anyone who's if it's your first month playing, I'm sorry, you're not gonna do well in CM necessarily. You don't have a lot of options, you haven't played for a while. That's just how PvP goes in games. You have to give it some time to develop. And if you've been playing since the beginning, you don't have variety, that's your fault. Like that at this point, like come on. And there's so many catch-up mechanics too though. You get instant 99s. I don't know if it gives you all the way to 120 or anything, but I think that's actually a question coming up. But I would love to love for them to force us to use R units or SR units more than just like Phoebe. Because I think if you maintain the no quicken thing, Phoebe becomes a lot less valuable because people, like, you might use her for full life, but I don't know. Other rules I really like. I don't necessarily like the resists down because that starts to like really pigeonhole certain units into being like obvious picks or obvious never picks. And I'd rather have this kind of every unit being used in some capacity sort of thing. Like the variety in teams I see now is ridiculous. Like, granted, half of my matches are against Ketone, OG Mott, and UR Zazan right now, just on this particular CM map, but I think overall there's a larger variety now than there has been in the past. That was a longer-winded version of that, but what do you guys think in terms of restrictions? Obviously, Dana, you were mouthing that you love the no reaction thing, but any other ones you would add in?
I would say, like, my answer is to the first question, yes. I feel the recent restrictions are helping. They're promoting the diversity. My ideal cost restriction setup is anything that makes my opponent stop and think, or if they don't do that, then they underestimate what your team is set up to do, and gives them the disadvantage.
Rewards experience, basically. Yeah. Locke, what about you?
Well, I really like restrictions. Well, first of all, I really like when it's like no quicken, because I think first of all I do better, so that's always nice. Whenever there's no quicken, I usually finish within like the top 10 or something. But I think it's just nice as well. I mean, because quicken is so effective, and then you end up picking one unit that's like really good, and then two other quickeners, and then you don't really see as many units doing well, like, because you usually just have one carry, right? So I really like I like banning quicken as a rule set. I don't know if I would ban the CT manipulation. Like I think Keenblade is okay. It's just when you pair Keenblade with Ildira because you have a small map and you can do turn one, Cheeseblade, that's when it gets an issue. But I think
that's map design too. Like I agree.
Yeah.
I've been a lot more like okay with Keenblade stuff, but not if you're like 5 spaces away.
Yeah, and I also like, and I've done recent commentary videos where I'm like, so-and-so is approaching me, and it's like an Earth Evade team or something, and they just wait by one turn. Like the first turn, they stand still and buff, and I'm like, and this is when they lost. Because I'm like, that gives me enough time to do this and this and this. And I'm like, if they had approached me, and they also have Keenblade, and if they had approached me at a turn earlier, I would have been in trouble because of this. So if you remove Keenblade from that equation, that's basically that one turn that they lost, right? And so it gives range so much like more opportunity to win because because the opponents need an additional turn to close in. So that's why I think having tools like Keenblade or the Carbuncle VC, Ruby Rejuvenation, I think that's okay. For cost limitations, I really wish that they would move like Victura and Halloween Leela and the other 70 cost units to 80, because I think that's just like cheating, and I really wish they would do that, because right now with like a 230 cost, I think that's really nice because of the 90 cost units. But now you can like kind of cheat and use Victura and 2 of the 80 cost units, so you don't really need a like an MR unit or anything. So I wish they would do that. I don't know how I feel about the 50 versus 60 cost MRs, because sometimes the 60 cost MRs really are a lot more powerful, like Silma compared to like Mont or something. Although Mont is also quite nice, so I think that's okay.
But then there's like Shell at 50.
Fina 60 cost.
Yeah, Fina 60. And then there's also like the Solaire, which is like 65 cost. I think that should probably go down to 60. And then
Yeah, we're way past when she was like Uber.
exactly. But other restrictions, I don't know. I'm okay with everything else. Like maybe not the missile resist 50% because that's like really punishing. I think. I don't know. Maybe once in a while.
Bias.
But because that's the only one we had. We haven't had like a slash
We had
resist plus
magic.
50. Yeah, magic and missile was the same one.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh well, we
but
also had missile on this previous. Oh no, it was AOE on the previous one.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Okay. Which essentially
if
said
you-
barrage.
Yeah, if you had the I don't know. I don't know. I mean, all the others were okay. The healing down was okay. The re-raise down, whatever was okay. They're all okay. I mean, I adapt to whatever it is. But I would really like if all the other CMs had no quick for now.
Yeah. I if anything, just to not hear people bitch when they lose and like not be able to admit they did something wrong and just lost a quick in, like, god damn it. Like,
Just no reflexes.
yeah, like
Yeah, I actually really like this one with no reflex. Although I often run gunners. I prefer that.
Keenblade is a tool to engage for the, because a lot of the slower units can use Keenblade, or like at least their team, someone can. So it kind of fills that void of Quicken where you can close the gap on teams that can just cut you. So it is a nice tool for that. But I do, as we've always said, I think Quicken should exist in the capacity, but needs to be nerfed. We always come back to this at some point. Either some kind of diminishing return, like you can't do 2 in a row, or you can't whatever. But that'd be pretty difficult to implement, so I'm pretty okay with just removing it. But we do have to be careful with how much CT manipulation we ban out all at once, just to make sure that people like Locke can't just like never be touched. But all right, moving on to the next question. Lazarus Jin with an actual question. I said maybe answer the same 3 questions as popularity poll and JP. This is more of a fun one. All right, we got 3 things. First, which unit would you want to have a chat or sit next to? Which unit would you want to be your boss? And which unit would you want to see in a swimsuit? You don't have to answer a third one if we don't want to, but we can go with all of that. He said half naked, crossed out in a swimsuit, but so all right, have a chat. Here, let me actually, I gotta pull up the unit list real quick because who's like the most wise? You know what? I want to have a chat with Gilgamesh. I want to have, who's my boss? Actually, let's limit this also to units that are in the game, not collaboration units. FFB is fine because same universe, but not like, you can't say Cloud or Tifa or something. Boss. I want Ildira to be my boss. And then, who would I want to see in a swimsuit? I feel like this is such a trap, and I just don't even want to bother answering this, because like, it's just going to be such horse shit in the comments. Oh, simp. I can get banned for that on saying that, right? But anyway, yeah, we're just going to stop on that one. Who do you want to be your boss and you want to sit next to? Unless you both are going to do the swimsuit one, then I'll jump in with it.
I mean, I'll start with the swimsuit one first, and like Eldo's was my first UR, so I'll just do. I know Eldo's swimsuit. Like, people like love to like, I don't know, make a meme or whatever out of that. So I guess I'll make that my pick. Boss, I guess I would say King Rob. He's supposed to be this huge strategist, and he seems like a better dad, like one of the like best dad out of the 4 or whatever. Yeah, it seems like a good boss. Although at the same time, he had a couple of spies in his ranks, so it's like, you get on top of that. But who would want to have a chat with is crazy. I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm gonna pass it over to Locke.
All right. Whoever I want to have a chat with would actually be King All Day for me, because I have no idea what the heck he's doing. I would just ask him like, "What is your strategy? Like, why did you do this? You know, like it doesn't make any sense." Like, yeah, the whole story. I mean, I follow the story. It just doesn't make any sense. Like logically, it's just like all over the place. So that's why I would want to just chat with him and ask him, "Why did you do this?" I guess. As for who to be my boss, I would actually want his wife, like Black Rose Helena, to be my boss, because like she actually seems like a pretty good strategist in my opinion. Because like, I don't know, she had this thing going on behind the scenes. She was actually able to like have a pretty good group of people follow her and get her out and like be pretty involved in the story while still being behind the scenes. She was able to shoot that arrow at Mon to let him know what's going on, and like all kinds of like she actually seems like she's pretty good with what she does. So working for a team like that, I think would be interesting. So
I guess I'd have a chat with Rain. Just so this is for the FFB enthusiasts. Like I know JB is one of them. I just want to get the universe down straight. Like just in my head, talk to him and be like, all right, what really happens and what kind of time travel shenanigans are we talking about? Um, you'd have to have played that game to really get an understanding. He shows up a lot. I'll just lack of spoilers.
Oh, actually, I would change my boss to Luell. I forgot about Luell. Similar, like,
Yeah.
sort of thematic characters, but I think she'd be a little friendlier. But all right, moving on to Revolver asks thoughts on the appeal of manual play in PvP rather than just thoughts on the appeal of manual play in PvP rather than just auto. How to prevent burnout or people being afraid of playing manual PvP as it's not very noob friendly. If you can change to make manual PvP more popular, what would it be? The first bit I touch on a lot, and I sound like an asshole when I say it, but I'm sorry if you expect to be good at PvP right off the bat, or if you expect to be viable on your first day, like, set your expectations differently. Like, that's kind of a thing you're doing to yourself. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. It takes practice. Like, it should be a mode that takes skill. Like, there needs to be something in the game that takes, like, skill when doing manual play. Like raids, someone else can tell you how to play. You can do their exact moves, even if it's manual. Do their exact moves in order and succeed, because stats are stats and math is math. Live PvP is a whole different beast, and then that needs to exist in the way it does, I think. But in terms of making it more noob friendly, I think that comes down to a lot of the restrictions. So whether it be quicken banning or things that allow you to play more of a game and learn more from it. Cost restrictions actually could play a part in that. Like, granted, yeah, okay, not everyone can build everything, but like, if you are playing, I guess it does take some extent of like targeted building too. Like, you have to actually make sure your account has something lower cost. I don't know. I don't know how to make it more noob friendly without also like ruining the mode. So if you guys have any better thoughts than me, I'll see if I can think of something better to say about it. But it's just not. It's not a noob mode. Like, you have to be able to go in with sort of something developed already.
I mean, I was thinking about it for a second, and well, not for a second, for a while, and I think one of the things for especially for class matches, maybe lowering the number of attempts a day from 5 to 3, because I feel like it's like if you're going to be playing manually, I think you probably wouldn't want to play just 1 or 2 matches, because what's the point, right? Like, the other matches are auto and it's a flip of a coin. So do you really like? I don't know. I think if you were only playing 3 matches a day instead of 5, you're also spending less time commitment. I thought of like lowering the turn timer, but I don't know if that would entice more people or not. Like, I made a thread about it before.
That'd be way more stressful, I think, for newer players.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's weird because like people also complain about they don't want to do class match or manual PvP just because it takes so much time. So I don't know, but I mean, like, League of Legends is very popular, and it's also very stressful, and it's like very like fast paced, right? Like, you have like an effect that lasts for like 2 seconds is like considered a long time, right? But it's a different style of playing, so that's why I was like, I don't know if people would be more interested or not. And there's also speed chess, which is also quite popular as well. So would people be interested? I don't know. But if you can't, reduce the timer of the 30-second timer, maybe you can just reduce the number of matches that people would do. And I don't think, like, I think we would have more success by trying to entice people to play class match than for people to use the free match battle to do it. So, I mean, the rewards is much better anyway, and there's usually some kind of restriction and like crystals and stuff, which is not there in the free match. So I think, did I zone out or?
No, you're
okay.
fine.
Okay, okay.
I'm
I
staying
think
responses.
Stop for a sec. Anyway, so I think that's probably how I would try to go about it, like trying to get people to focus on class match. And the only suggestion I can really think of is like lowering the attempts a day from 5 to 3, because even like for me, sometimes it becomes like a lot of time commitment. If the match is like 20 minutes long, sometimes it's like over an hour, right? But if it's just like 3 matches, it's at max an hour. So I think that might be.
Then again, like, people could just play those 3 matches a day and not play the other 2. Like, that comes back to sort of an expectation thing. I don't know. Like, to go play match battles 3 times if you want to only play 3 matches a day. Like I don't know. I can kind of see that, but that's not a lot either.
Yeah.
So it's like 5 feels like the right number, but I don't know. Daniel, what are your thoughts?
So I don't know. It's not really revolutionary or whatever, but so I like how Locke mentioned like League of Legends. I was actually randomly I was like scrolling Facebook and came across like a League of Legends stream where somebody was running like a boot camp for people to get better at it, and I was like, this is genius. Like I want to do this for War of the Visions. I think. Preventing burnout or being afraid of playing manual PvP, I think one way to combat that is more engaging with the community and outreaching with people that really like want to try to get better but like don't want to get stomped on or whatever, or like maybe their account isn't as well developed. But like I would love to have more time, like if I could do this as my career or something, or like if I didn't need a career, like with the universal basic income or whatever, like I would try to engage with the community more, kind of like how I wanted to do at the beginning of the summer. Make more content, have like a boot camp or something where like you sign up, there's like a team of coaches that play with you, that help you get better, that point out things in your style that maybe, or like maybe mistakes that you've made. Mistakes are like the best teacher. Mistakes, losses, like the mindset of competing, where like you're like, instead of being like, oh, I'm so frustrated at last, but like looking at it constructively is like, how can I learn from this experience? If we can help pass that on to people, um, I just really wish I had more time to engage people more with that. I think we can see a positive change if we had the chance to do that. So that's really what I think is missing right now, is more community outreach. Um, yeah, it's not really very noob friendly. So like, how do you get people less noob friendly? You just help them have more experience. If I could make that change to make manual PvP more popular, I think it would be to kind of support that. Something that we've mentioned before, like let us have more options over the parameters of the match.
Yep.
Um,
Friendlies, yeah.
no brainer.
Oh, look at that. Ding in the chat just said exactly what you said right when you said it. He said, I think a revamp of the friendly rooms to adjust time settings and pick restrictions. Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, let people practice the way they want to practice and then reach out. Maybe a better way to find matches. Like, you could open up rooms and, like, scroll a list and find rule sets you want to play and, like, join someone's game or something. Like, that actually might be the best answer, is just something along the lines of overhauling the friendly system and giving a lot more player yep
agency.
Agency, yeah, that's the word, to over what they play, because right now it's just like match battle, go in and get slammed by a 100 cost units with max VCs and double quicken or something. Like, it's setting those restrictions that are within the game. Like, otherwise you got to go to the Discord, which, I mean, granted, if you're trying to get better, you're probably trying to find that anyway. But go to the Discord, find somebody willing to play a rule set that you want to play, and then like be able to find someone's kind of evenly matched and blah blah blah. So, yeah, that'd be great. This kind of
something else.
Oh, sure.
I was going to add to it, but are you done?
I was just gonna say, someone in the Discord. This is a long comment. There was no question here, so I'm not gonna read all of it. But they said, basically relating this to the length of matches, like, if you don't like the length of it, just go play every other mode in the game. Like, it's a tactics game. Like, taking 30 seconds a turn is really just not that much. And half the time it doesn't even take 30 seconds. Like, oh, they walked up, ha, sure hit. Like, you're gonna hit them or something. Like, it doesn't always take 30 seconds every turn. It doesn't always take, they said like 13 minutes. People are like, oh my god, this is so long. Bro, if your match is at 13 minutes, like, it was either like one-sided, or somebody made a really big blunder like during a game that could have went a lot longer, more interesting, and then it's like, okay, well, was that a good game? I don't know. Like, the 20-minute matches are the ones I live for. Like, the ones that are grindy right till the end. Like, those are fantastic. Like, you really find out like who can make more consistent, correct decisions over the course of a match, and like, to me, that's what thrills me. If I wanted quick matches, I just go to arena.
I would expect the average manual match to be like 5 to 10 minutes. But the longer ones are definitely usually interesting, unless they're just drawn out to the last turn, which is a strategy in itself.
So say 20. Just say turn cycle 1, 2. Are they 5 to 10? I guess they're 5 to 10.
Just in terms of doing like class matches, like I know that I can, like, if I get like an average 5 matches in a day, it'll be like less than an hour, and maybe some interesting stuff happened that maybe boosted it to like 10 to 15 minutes a match or whatever. But generally, like there, I don't know if you guys remember, but this one time I woke up with half an hour left and I got all my matches in, and that was like, wow, this is surprising. Like it was better than average.
So yeah, Log, what were your thoughts?
There was this article that I read that I was comparing two mobile games. One of them is League of Legends that's ported over to mobile, and the other one was called Mobile Legends. And it was a really interesting article actually because
You mean Copyright Legends?
Sorry?
You mean Copyright Legends? That game.
It actually came out before, but I think it came out after, like, because the League of Legends had existed on
they
PC
copied
for
the
a long
map and
time.
every character. So.
But what I really liked about it, and I actually agree with the article, was that they were saying that League of Legends is a good game, but not really a fun game, especially on mobile. Whereas Mobile Legends is a fun game, but not a good game. And so why is it a fun game but not a good game? Is because there are some characters that are just like a lot more OP than the other ones, and it's also a lot more fast paced. Like you can very easily kill towers, which is a structure in the game that you part of your objective. Like you can have very quick turnarounds, like a surprise, like what is it called, like you're on a losing position and suddenly you win out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like those things make the game fun, right? Whereas League of Legends is very technical. Like I'm not this technical with the game because I haven't played it at that level, but apparently there's like 6 mobs that come out every few turns, and you can kill this one particular mob to stall the lane and things like that. So there's a lot of technical stuff that goes on in the game, which is a very good PC game, right? Because this is like you want to actually spend time and tactics and think about it and do it. But on mobile, I tried playing League of Legends on mobile. I was just not into it. It just was way too slow paced for me.
It's super fast compared to the PC version, though. It is unbelievably fast compared to that. I played it. It was like jarring.
But compared to Mobile Legends, it's slow. So, and I guess then it comes to like on mobile, what does the average person want to play? Do they want to play something that's like longer or shorter and like more fun, or more like, or a good game, a good but boring game, or a fun but dumb game, I guess.
Porque no las dos, yeah.
And I don't have an answer to this. It's just like I read that article and I'm like, that's pretty good. And like the article itself is pretty good because they were actually trying to help you to decide which game do you want to play. So I thought it was a good point, and that's when I made the thread about what if the turns were like 15 seconds each or something, or was it 10 seconds? I don't know. What if you shorten the turns? Would people still play? Like it would be a fun game, but not necessarily a good tactics game,
Well, plus, like, I mean, then you have to factor in lag and like how much time do you have to actually do your moves and do like anything. You have to know exactly what you want to do as soon as your turn starts, because of how long it takes to click and go through menus in the game. But I guess they optimize it for that system, maybe. Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because that's kind of like card games a lot of the time. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is a shitty design like for a game, but a lot of people love it because it's fast-paced, it's fun, there's like all these bullshit combos you can do that are like super built-in and synergistic, and it feels good. But my god, is it not a well-made game. But like then you look at something like the game I've been playing, which is Flesh and Blood, which is the complete opposite. It's super well-made, balanced, but it's super grindy. The edges that you gain in matches are not like I dealt 11 and they dealt 2. It's more of like I dealt 7, they dealt 6, or I dealt 1 over the course of more turns and I played my things more efficiently, and you win on these small percentages, not these like giant blowouts. So, and then Yu-Gi-Oh's a bigger game. Granted, it's been out for 20 more years, but people still play shitty games because they're fun, and that it is a really weird, like, my brain doesn't like, I understand why they say they like it. I can't put myself in those shoes though. Like, I want good design and good balance and like everybody to have a chance, and that skill is what gets you over the edge.
Yeah.
But unfortunately that's not how most of the world works. So it's hard for me to answer and like be relatable. I know, because like I'm just not.
It's not a question. It's
average,
just like yeah.
Daniel, looked like you had a lot of thoughts during all that.
I was getting prepared for future questions.
Oh, sure. Okay. So, Revolver, nope. Gigas, nope. All right, Logi. So, what is your definition of, or importance placed on, fair play and good sportsmanship in the heat of competition? So, he elaborates, how do you strike a balance, or do you even need to, of winning at all costs, not putting yourself at a disadvantage, and also thinking of yourself as an ambassador of live PvP in War of the Vision, staying away from strategies and tactics that might deter new players. So I assume he means things like double quick in, keen blade combos, Over time, has your opinion changed as the meta shifts occur and more tools become available to combat dominant strategy at the time? So, my beginning of this is I used to play a lot of bruiser teams, now I play a lot of quicken teams. So that kind of answers that a little bit. I don't give a fuck. I will not play Keenblade just because there's a difference between being powerful and hard to answer and being unanswerable. And I will not play Keenblade Eldira on a small map because I don't think it should exist. But I do use Charm now, which I also don't think should exist in the form it exists. But I do think there's counterplay to it, and that people need to play around it. And if they don't, then like there's that. But at the same time, he implies that Ambassador's live PvP. I guarantee you, if I win with double quicken, there will be a higher percentage of people that regard me higher because of my placement than if I lose a ton and they say, oh, we're not even top 100, we're not even going to listen to your opinion because you didn't win. It's like, okay, well, I did what you wanted. I didn't play what you wanted, and I lost because I'm doing an inferior strategy. Oh, you don't respect me anymore? Like it happened in, like, card... It always goes back to card games, that's my main thing. But, like, Final Fantasy, we had locals that were like, why can't you play worse? I'm like, sorry? I'm like, I can't, what do you want me to do? Register a bunch of cards that don't work together? I can't even play them and be like, oh, or like, oh, that's lethal. Oh, I guess I don't block. Oh, you got me. Like, what do you want me to do? That's not good for anybody. Like, just, how about you ask for, like, ways to improve or something? I don't know. But in terms of being an ambassador, I'm like, I'd like to think I am, and, like, this whole, like, this whole group. I mean, especially you guys yeah, that's fair. I mean, you guys created the PvP server. Like, without that, I honestly don't think the community would be nearly as sort of successful. Like, even class matches in general. Yeah, I don't know. At all costs, no, because again, I won't use like Keenblade Eldira even if it's optimal. But I'm also not gonna sit there and just like neuter myself to make a point. Like, yeah. I guess that's maybe my limit. I'll think if I think of anything else. Daniel?
I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, we're playing this game to have fun. If you're not having fun, if you're just driving yourself to win, and like that's not fun for you, then like there's no point in doing that. And like me having fun has started to take a higher priority. Actually, started. It's been that way for many months. Like, that's the highest priority for me. What's that?
E30 said that without you guys, a lot of people would not be playing still. So that was
cool.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. Like, if it's not fun for me, then I'm not gonna play. So like that's got to be the highest priority. What's fun for me is seeing other people have fun, and that's why I'm really proud of this server, like the PvP server. Like, people are still having fun playing, and that keeps me going. I guess if that makes me an ambassador, I feel like ambassador / representative maybe is kind of like a better approach to it, because like ambassadors, like they're involved in outreach, like I was talking about before. Like they go out and they talk to other people. They're involved in relations with other groups or whatever. So I'd say probably representative is a better term for it. But yeah, obviously, like, I don't know if he was like leading the witness or anything, but yeah, staying away from tactics that drive people away. That's kind of like, that's something that I always do. I always try to do. Like, I mean, I still do double quicken, and I felt guilty about using cheese blade in the past, but and overall, like, we care about the health of the game and the community. So obviously, like, we don't want to shit on people and just like laugh at them and point and bully them as they run away crying.
Well, that's the difference too. We're not like doing it like, haha, I beat the noob, I feel so good about it. Like, I say it on stream, I'm like, I'm sorry, man, I gotta do this to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's constructive. Like, you frame it in a way that's like, how can we learn from this? And like, that's almost always positive, right? As long as you're not like being sarcastic or disingenuous or whatever. My definition of / importance placed on fair play and good sportsmanship is just like, it's as long as you can have fun. Like, having fun is very important, but to me, like, good sportsmanship is like kind of the highest priority, because that's part of having fun playing together. and kind of this isn't really an echo chamber. Like there's always going to be somebody else to fight, but like in real life, if you had like a lower population, like if you were playing, I don't know, dodgeball or something, and you were like cheating or whatever, like you drove all the players away, you're just sitting there at the end with the ball with no one else left to play, and that's because you were like you were a jackass, right? Like fair play and good sportsmanship is really what you should be focusing on as a competitor. That kind of integrity and credibility and reputation and stuff. It's very important. It depends on how seriously you take yourself. So maybe some people don't really care. But to me, like it goes back to like if you're trying to be a representative, if you're trying to help people get better, if you don't want to drive people away from the mode, if you care about the mode, then you want to play fair and react constructively and not just like take your toys and go home. Over time, has my opinion changed as meta shifts occur? Yeah, it kind of goes back to like answering like, yeah, like if your intention is to always strive to get better, then like, yeah, you kind of have to have this fluid identity in terms of a player and competitor.
Hey, actually, yeah, focusing on the last question a bit more too. I think, like I just mentioned with my opinion on charm, I do think the 50% chance based on a non-LB is bullshit, but there are a lot more tools now to combat it, a lot more knowledge available to people, so I don't feel nearly as bad about either getting hit by it or by doing it to other people because it is avoidable. In most cases. Some cases, maybe there's like some double quick and OG Zazan, and then they happen to get your unit that can one-shot your team as the next one. Like, that still feels bad, but I think there are a lot more tools to combat a lot of the bullshit from the past, so I don't feel quite as bad utilizing. And also, going back, I guess me forcing mono ice is kind of like having fun and not necessarily picking optimal, because I don't think I'd be using Barret if I was trying to be like 100% like seal all of my weaknesses, because like my team does lose to missile resist sometimes, but I still enjoy playing this team and I can find ways to win with it regardless. So I guess I am kind of on that side a little bit too, but granted I did switch to Shell last class match for Quicken to make it easier, so whatever. But Locke, how about you?
So yeah, there were some things that I would definitely not play. Like for a long time, I would definitely not play Charm because I just thought it was too powerful. When Keenblade came around, I was okay with using Charm myself to kind of combat Keenblade, especially in that like tiny map, free match map, where if you had a Caesar across from the Keenblader, you can probably win the game in those cases. So I was okay with thinking about it and actually like putting it into action, but I never actually got Kisa 2-on-20 to actually execute. And I've actually like
God, she's amazing.
I've done like even for like class match preparations, I've thought of using Charm like many times and started like raising a unit, but in the end I just like stopped. I went away. But Charm is no longer something I'm like it's just too powerful because I think there's enough things out there to minimize its viability. You can even have like 3 units with 50% Charm resist
There's
on
a lot
your
of them
CM
now.
team.
Yeah, and they're usable. So
Yeah, exactly, usable units, and so that can like totally shut down a like if your strategy is all about Charm, that basically shuts it down, right? So I think that I don't think Charm is as powerful as it used to be, and so I think it's more in line. So I can see myself using it now. I still wouldn't play that Caneblade, as I said, like in a small map. I mean, I have all the tools, I have the units. I just don't want to play it because I don't see the point of it.
it's
like
not
if you're just
satisfying.
gonna win,
It's not
yeah,
as
exactly.
satisfying.
So that's that's what I feel. But I mean, typically when I play, I always like make videos and tell them, this is what I'm playing, this is how you counter it, and this is how I played against this person, and this is why
Come
you
get
lost
me,
because
bitch.
you did. Right? So like for me, I feel like I want to play something that's good, but I also don't want to play something that's unbeatable, right? And I want to tell people how to beat it so they have a chance of beating it. And oftentimes that's even when I'm asking people for advice, I always ask the person that's most familiar with the unit. Like recently, I asked Mako, like, how do you counter Ketone? Because nobody's like, well, I'm not going to tell you, right? Like everyone wants to tell you because I think that's what makes the scene more like just better and more competitive, right? If you're going to be playing a team that you just think is unbeatable, then what's the point, right? Like there's no real strategy involved in it. But if you are like, well, this is how you beat it, and now that you know, it's actually going to be like a real chess match where I'm trying to like pilot my units to overcome whatever strategy you're using to beat it because you know how to beat it, right? And I think that's when it becomes like really, really fun. So I mean, Yeah, like there are teams that I still wouldn't play, like I mentioned, and for me, mostly like it's all about educating people, like how to beat this, how to beat that, because I typically don't think there's anything that's really unbeatable, unless I mean even like Keyblade, like first turn on a small map is still beatable, but it's like it's just so niche to beat it that I still think it's unfair. So that's the only aside. But other than that, I don't think there's really anything that's unbeatable. That unless it's auto, where I don't really have much advice to say because I don't play auto enough to know. Um, as for being an ambassador, I don't know. I mean, like I think the correct title is not ambassador, as Daniel said earlier. But I think I think I was one of the first few people that started making these live PvP videos like way back when. And I think the reason I really liked live PvP opposed to like anything else, and what I really like about this game was that back then I had a level 99 Mont, 89 Tancred, and 89 Frederica, and I could get like a 100 win streak against people
Dude,
with like
fuck
3
your
level 99
Thancred, dude.
units.
Fuck your Thancred. Do you know how many times Che actually Che stopped playing? But he would just be like, we'd be in the guild thing, like talk about PvP. We're just doing match battles. He's like, damn it, it's lock again. It's like he like could not beat you for the longest time, as far as I recall. And like your thank that was like you were the Thancred guy that just destroyed everybody early in the game. Definitely remember that.
So for me, it was like I'm able to go toe to toe with these, and I had obviously no max VCs because I didn't want to spend like that, right?
Oh right.
But I knew people that would spend like kept pulling on a VC until they got maxed of it. So it'd spend like I don't know like $300 on one banner to get like a level 99 of whatever VC, right? And I'm like, I can still beat you by just like playing tactics properly, right? And so that was what was appealing about live PvP for me, because I was like, I can actually like think about strategies, figure out how to do something, and beat players that spend like a ton of money on this. So that's what I found appealing about the mode, and that's when I started being more into it and stuff. And of course, like whenever I go up to like a different bracket, there would be like a whole new wave of like these whales that always beat me. I
Yeah.
don't know how to beat them, but I would like I would think enough about tactics to figure out how to beat it. And once you do, it was very satisfying. And so that's what I really liked about the game, because I don't think there's any other game I can think of, a mobile game, unless it's like money has absolutely no impact on the game, like League of Legends, where it doesn't. I don't think there's any other gacha game that I can think of where you can actually just beat somebody with tactics without spending any money, right? So that's what I really like about this game, and that's why I decided to make videos and so on and so on about this. But yeah.
All right. If we don't have any more thoughts on that, I accidentally skipped one because it was one line, and it just got blocked by the flood. Any units that are being slept on? I'll start with Fryevia. How about you guys?
This is one of the ones I was really thinking about while you guys were answering earlier stuff. And the answer that I came to really depends on the current meta, but it comes back down to status effects. A lot of the units that people are currently using have some kind of weakness to statuses, and if you can capitalize on that with units, as long as they're on the same power level, like if you are facing like a team of 120s and you only have like level 99s, like you're going to be at a disadvantage.
Right.
But I'm sure there's situations where you can still end up turning an advantage in game because of buffs or natural advantages or whatever. But honestly, like status effects just go such a long way in game in turning the tide of battle in your favor. Like an evade unit gets disabled, their evade goes down to 0. They're a sitting duck, or disable is such a powerful one. But like
Yeah.
stop, even paralyze, just like poison on a tank. There's all these. Whether subtle or not, like the nuances that make status effects so powerful. I think that really depends. That really indicates what to me is a slept on unit. Like, oh shit, like this is such an obvious counter to like Black Rose Helena or whatever. Like, I don't know, Athena or Jaden or whatever. Like that kind of thing.
So do you have a particular couple units, or just like?
No, the unit list is so long. So like I didn't want to focus on any in particular.
I tried to pick one, and I think Fryevia is what
yeah.
I'd land on, but
Um,
This is in the context
Oh,
of live PvP.
to me, to me, it's more about the statuses, honestly, that about like what gets slept on or not, you know.
Lock?
So I don't know if this one counts, but like Corval, because like I mean obviously I use Corval a lot, and I've seen other people use it as well. But like just in general, even in live PvP, I feel like a lot of people think that Corval is not so powerful. When Zazan came out, I made a video before Corval was released saying that I think he's going to be a great counter, and people are like, no, he doesn't do enough damage. And then even now, like sometimes I post videos, and some people are like, I think you're one of the people that knows how to utilize Corval so well. And I'm like, really? Like, because to me, it's just very surprising because I always think of him as like so good and so powerful, but
Same,
people
yeah.
don't really seem to see that. But if I
I
like,
just see him as the stain on the bottom of my boot.
Oh yeah, Corval would definitely be on my list.
Yeah. So
I
it's,
just play Mono Ice. I'm super biased. Like, what's up, Corval?
See, that's what I'm
Damage
talking
cap.
about, like the units that are slept on. It depends on these different
It's
variables.
all contextual, yeah.
But if I had to pick another one, I would think of like Severo, because like he has a very like really interesting EX upgrades, but because he's water and you know Frederica's everywhere, like he's probably gonna get one shot if you bring him into a team and against a Frederica or Cloud, which is quite often. But I think his EX upgrades are just so interesting. Like he has a decreased bravery on one of his on one of his skills. And then his job level 25 skill, it gives him minus 350 activation time, haste, and courage. Like, what the heck, man? That's an
Yeah.
insane skill. So I've never seen anybody using him though, and for a good reason, because you know lightning is everywhere, or until this CM anyway, lightning was everywhere. But if it continues that lightning is not everywhere, I think we would probably see him being used more often.
And Uni. I'm in
Yeah,
that similar
Uni too.
boat. Like in terms of like really unique skill sets, being water units, I think both of them kind of check that box.
God, if only they had higher agility.
Yeah.
I also haven't seen Glaciella a lot, the new one, which is really weird. Like, I would have to say she slept on because I don't see her ever. But I feel like people know she's good. I don't know. It's a really weird one. Also, Chow Pao, that is definitely awesome to hear. We're going to address that right in the chat.
Shout out. He's
Yeah.
one of my guildies, and I think he's awesome.
Oh, I didn't know he was in your guild. Okay. All right. So next one, someone responded with Warrior of Light. That's not a question. That's not a question. All right. Who are or were your favorite quote-unquote non-meta units to use for manual PvP matches and why? We kind of been talking about that a lot. But for me, I would say Barrett for sure. For me, scrolling down here.
There was a
Like,
question?
favorite non-meta units for manual PvP matches and why.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, definitely like Fryavia in the past, Barrett, again, Mono Ice just because that's what I have the most experience with now, but I think back in the day, Victora, when she was, a lot of people didn't think she was a good unit in general, but like in live PvP, we just made her do ridiculously stupid things. Rosa also, obviously these are all ice units, super biased here, but just units I've really enjoyed. And then like if you look at, yeah, Rain's one in the past, Grace, definitely not super meta, but has been super impactful, especially in tournaments. If you find the right rule set for her, she can be ridiculous. And that, yeah, Rosa EX can be nuts, E30. I cannot wait for that. Would you say she's non-meta? Because I guess it depends on like which meta, right? Because she was super, like when she came out, she was in every guild battle. Like if you didn't have kill fate, you just lost, it felt like. But for live PvP, she wasn't always necessarily a top pick. So I wonder kind of which way we should think about the question. And then obviously Mish is like one of my favorite non-meta units by far.
Yeah, anything MR or lower, really.
Yeah, actually, there you go. Yep, MRs, SRs, Rs, and Ns.
Dude, those are such awesome matches, though. If you just go MR or lower, like it's almost always going to be a good time because, like, you know, you're taking a handicap, so you make the best of it.
All right, Locke, what about you?
I think it'd just be the original Mont. Like as soon as his EX came out, I thought his skill was really good, like especially his Stone Throw upgrade. But I EX'd him right away, but I haven't actually had a chance to use him in CM until the CM. For whatever reasons, but yeah, this CM, like he does so much work. Like I think there was a match where I was fighting against King Mont, and the Glaciella, the new Glaciella, the Fire Glaciella, and I think it was Mish, and he just did so much work. Like he was able to stone throw like all of them, right, eventually, and that just gave such a handicap of movement and tempo hit that I was able to eventually win the game, like literally thanks to Mont, right? And also his killer Drain Blade, if it's like Mont versus Mont, that can throw people off too, because he absorbs whatever HP, he absorbs whatever damage he does. And those two skills I think just makes him like really really good, and he's never like easy to kill unless your opponent is wind, because he usually has like over 7k HP and over like 40 defense, and he has Sentinel, which increases that to like 85 defense. So of course there is like defense penetrations like everywhere, and there's also magic damage everywhere as well, and he has low magic because he has minus 25 magic resist. So he is easy to kill if you have the right units. But typically, you're fighting against physical damage. That's what I find most of the time. And wind is there, but not as common as earth or lightning. So usually he's a pretty good pick, pretty good safe pick. And it's only 50 cost, so I think he's great, and he does a lot of work for that.
Good luck. Someone in chat, Isfar said, talk about beating me in CM, I'll take the shout out. Is that who you did that to?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, yeah, it was you. You got
Hey,
fucked. No, it's good.
Isvar is awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
I
he's really good. It was a very good match.
Two
I
other
think
units
he
I would
actually
add.
won because of Odin at the end, but because like suddenly Mont got an Odin off from nowhere because he thought he had me beat because he killed my Jaden, and my Crowell was like had like no AP left, unless I'm remembering a match differently, but I think it was this far. My Crowell had no AP left, so he couldn't kill Mont anymore. And my Mont didn't have enough damage to kill him before he would get a Karada off from Glashella. So I was like, okay, I'm screwed. And then Monster and Odin. Oh, I'm like, I wonder how much damage this would do. Like 1.7k, which is enough to kill him. And like that was what sealed the deal.
Two other units I would say I forgot about would be Ravies is another one that's put in a lot of work over time that she never like. She kind of became she started to get recognized, but kind of when we first saw her, she was more niche. And then Murmur did some work at various times as well.
Stop taking all my units.
Wait, I'll take
Damn
one
it.
Warriors Vistral. No, all right. What are yours, Danny?
So besides the ones that were covered, I want to give a shout out to Elsorel, like OG Elsorel. I really enjoyed using her on Spellblade subjob because she gets the double resist on her main job. I used it in past CMs. Like the Beast Zen map, where like double quick and gunners were like king, right?
Fuck that map.
Yeah. But like I was using a light team. I was like I was using like Yuna, Elsorel, and I think it might have been Sakura. No, I think I switched it out for somebody else. But I know I used that team for like a couple days at least. Anyways, I think she's really nice in terms of being able to buff for either against like Piercer Missile or Magic Resist. I can't wait for her to get her X job so that she can kind of stand toe to toe again as kind of like a beefy light bruiser. Another one is OG Macherie. Now that she has her X upgrades, I think that she can. I mean, like she has to deal with defense and spirit like penetration, but especially paired with Carbuncle VC and Carbuncle Esper and stuff, she's been way more effective than you would expect her to be, especially like the first year or year and a half of the game. I know, and I deliberately said year and a half, but obviously Ziza is definitely not a meta unit for manual PvP, but obviously I've loved her since the beginning of the game. That was kind of a no-brainer. And then all the units that Prodigy just mentioned.
Well, I guess real quick, the question asked why as well, and I just listed units.
Yeah.
So Victra has sneak attack. Obviously, her LB is really powerful, and then even things like Steel Vision and being kind of like sneaky evady was always interesting. Mainly the LB and the sneak attack, though, being able to handle a lot of different types of teams, and being anti-missile has always been great. Barrett, similarly, he can be kind of tanky, bruisery, but also can match the range of a lot of ranged units without necessarily dying to them. He has an interesting set of buffs, and he's also very good at removing things like Immortal Spirit, which can be good against some units. Confusion on basically on a stick on his LB is really powerful. He's really disruptive, really good unit. Then I don't really have a reason. She's just really good, and I don't see her, so I just call her underrated. But it's like I have no idea why. Murmur and Grace, obviously the resistances are nuts, but Grace also being able to use Mana Strike with either Quicken or just kind of like as people approach her trying to kill the people she's supporting, she can just like end up screwing your team over if you let that ever happen. And Rev, yes, because tanky steel heart.
Yeah, so I just remembered I was using Elshra with the Yuna and Elsrel. Elstra for the quicken and the insane like Rune Knight stuff. Yeah, and Drain Evil even. She's a really nice MR unit. Also waiting for her upgrades. I think there was one other I was just looking at.
Oh, Lila, right? That's another
no, actually,
that's another non-meta unit.
Fina actually she's become like almost this meta unit now because of her upgrades. Like she was so not a meta unit, a meta unit.
Meta unit.
Meta unit, yeah. Now she is a meta unit.
I imagine just like like robot and meta unit.
Meta Yuna. And one other one, Livial. I really like her as an earth healer, slash arithmetician. And I know Mako feels the same way. So, yeah. But again, we're listing MR units and lower. So,
it sounded like you said arithmetician, and I was like, that was the most like A tier pun.
I meant to do that.
We just got a long message. There is a question mark at the end, so let's read it. If you guys see this, what are your favorite thoughts on having trial units available for class match to allow more players to compete? That'd be interesting. Maybe not for class match, but like as maybe like a when class match isn't going on as a way to practice. That'd be cool. This is my initial thought. So this week could be Vrash, Jaden. Oh, you mean like the current units?
Yeah.
Not for class match. Thoughts on players making metagaming meta? What a certain amount of time, trying to match players. We just need more players for more balanced matches. I do think the game could benefit. I think this is actually a question coming up, but if they could implement an MMR system such that your consistency and wins and whatever over time compared to the people you're beating matter. So it's a kind of a almost like an elo system is what it is. So like if I face Daniel, my gains are going to be higher than if I face like a guy who made his account a week ago. Right now, it doesn't differentiate between those, and that would also you'd have to start having a conversation again about auto versus manual and splitting those up and whatever, which I don't think auto should exist in class match, or at least not auto only queues.
You literally take the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, so
100%.
So I do think yeah, it needs to be an elo system if you want to have that sort of balance, and it needs to be tracked over time to have, and this would kind of go into not having class match weeks but just having ranked queues, because it doesn't matter how many you play because the quality of your opponent matters. So if you're playing against people who have 0 wins and you're 30-0, like you're gonna gain like a point because you won, so you get something, but you don't get a lot because it wasn't like a real match, basically.
Almost like arena in the sense that like you're always hitting above, like 10 ranks above you or whatever, instead of 10 ranks below.
Yeah, so I think that would have to be implemented to get kind of what you're asking to exist, and I do think that would be an excellent implementation. It's just, it's another one of those. Do we really think it's going to happen? I don't know, but I think that would be the answer. Would be my answer. Sounds like Daniel, you agree with what I said. Locke, do you have anything to add?
I agree. I just don't know if he'll be finding enough opponents like that, you know?
Well, you can still match with other people. Just the rewards for matching with them would be less.
Oh, okay.
So that the advancement is different. And it would prioritize similar elo and then expand, like, say you've been searching for 10 seconds, it opens a little bit, and then once you overlap with the other player that's online, then you match. Kind of like the old, whatever system was with the tiers, except they did a real shit job with that because it was based on a thing that didn't matter. Right. If they did it on something that does matter, like an elo system, I think it'd be cool. But I guess it's slowly gains.
Yeah. I think that would be cool, and I think that would be interesting. I mean, there was one comment about, like right now, to really do well in CM, you need to have streaks, right? Like even if you get like 3 losses, if the 3 losses are like at the very beginning and the very end and in the middle, that's like even more impactful than 3 losses right in the beginning, right?
Right.
And so if you have an elo system where streaks don't matter much, I mean, I think the game would change. I mean, because right now, like we're building a team that can kind of take on anyone, right? Like that's what you're building, because if you lose one match, that's going to be so impactful to your overall score. Whereas if you change it, then it's like sometimes you might be like, well, I think I'll meet like like specifically light evade 1 out of 10 matches, and it's okay to lose 1 out of 10 matches. Whereas right now you can't really do that. So I mean, team building would change as well. And is that better or worse? I don't know. You know,
I
It'd
mean,
just be
Um,
different, yeah.
like
it'll be
it's
different.
to me like in light of you mentioning that, like it's literally the difference between arena and class match right now. You can tell how much more effort they put into the ranking in arena. Like it used to be 400, but now the cap is like 600. But the streak is so much less. Like you cap out at like, I don't know, like 50-ish or something compared to like the 600 that you're getting. There's been weeks where I get like 35, 40, 45, like a streak, win streaks, and it doesn't really impact too much because most of the points are from the win or from like the bonuses from with the win and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if they changed the system to be like maybe not twice the score that you get from a streak, but maybe
Right.
like 5 additional score or something
Yeah,
if you have a
something
5 streak or
small.
more, something like that. Yeah,
Something more manageable.
Like
Yeah.
cap it like 20 or like 30 points or 25 points instead of like +1 for a streak, then you're like getting 25s. Yeah. I mean, it already is kind of nice though that we only lose 5 for a loss and gain 20 for a win at base. Like you go
Yeah.
1 and 4 and stay even. So that could be like an entire podcast, honestly. But moving on to the next question from Boomhauer. This one confused me a little bit, but oh man, the perfect outlet for my question. I've been thinking about: do you think offensive mages have any place in the current meta? Obviously, damage first mages like Sakura and Medina feel completely outdated, and even Helena is genuinely hard different to find a slot for the. I assume that's hard to find a slot for these days. So much against them. They almost have all 3-1 movement. They are very squishy, negative physical resist. It's like, yeah, that balances them because they're so powerful. Like Black Rose Helena can handle all those defenses. She has ways to get rid of. Like, does she have multi-hit? She does, right?
Oh, but she has barrier break.
She doesn't. I was say, I think she just has barrier
She
break.
has,
So
like,
barrier
dark
break,
cube.
spirit resist, magic resist. Like, what do you want? Like, I don't understand this question. They're almost all squishy. That's because they're DPS units. They have negative physical resistances. Okay. Charge time is a relic with physical units having instant 4, 5, 6 range moves, and the larger lock to magic is their only type of damage. Yeah, but again, because of all the penetrations, that doesn't really matter, I don't think. I said almost think Gumi has noticed this, and they give us more like Elena and Jaden with high magic, non-magic attack main jobs with magic subs. Fair. Pure mages have basically been relegated to support. I don't look for offensive spells anymore. I look for quicken and full life. While think units like Elsorel, Moore, and Awu. Who the fuck's Awu?
Halloween Lolita.
Halloween Lila.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You can really build a team around them as a. You can't really build a team around them as a carry. Like Fire Glacial looks cool, but good luck getting across that bridge this CM. I feel like that's maybe a consequence of how you build them. Like I feel like there's ways to kind of prevent a lot of that. I don't. Am I thinking Black Rose Helena is better than she is? Like, what are you guys thinking here?
I think it's not just about the like the offense capability of the mage. It's about what other tools are in their kit, and like how you tech them. Like for instance, like I know JB79 was using this team like around the same time I was. It was a light team that was built to take out dark teams at the time, and it was Sakura, Yuna, and one other unit I can't remember, but they were using like obviously like the light bracelet, stacking dark resistance, stacking like magic resistance, that kind of thing, and like it got to the point. I think this was literally like on Howl's stream. He accused JB of being a cheater because he was taking so little damage on his light team from like Howl's is like a souped up dark team. He was like, "What is happening? You are obviously hacking." But it was because of the way that like Sakura was able to buff dark resistance, and you can like there are ways to get around like their weaknesses and stuff. So it's not just about what kind of damage they can do; it's about how they can survive. And I think we're looking forward to like Golbez or something coming up. And I can't remember specifically like what's good about him, but
He's gold
yeah,
best. That's
yeah,
my reason. I love
yeah,
Gomez.
and I know he can use a helm, so he can use like
Well,
Gilgamesh Timar or whatever.
I think maybe we're out of the scope of the question because he specifically asking about like why is Medina's outdated, which I basically
yeah.
agree.
Well, she's a
but
launch unit.
launch unit, yeah, I guess, and Sakura he said also feels outdated, which I think it's because they don't have
Yeah.
EX, or she doesn't have an
Yeah.
EX maybe. But like
Ex-
when her stats are back, like her LB's good. She has a lot of other good skills. She has a way to give her. He said a problem is 3-1 movements. Like she can give herself 4-2 movement. So, like, I don't know. I feel like there's ways to build around the problems that are described here. Like I agree. Like I'm not going to use Medina over almost any other mage just because I don't like the way she plays now. But she's not like necessarily just awful.
and it's also like it sounds like like you can't build a team of all offensive mages. Like that's just they're not meant to be. Like there's no team that you can just have a bunch of carries and expect them to survive. Like they have roles to fill, you know. Yeah, if you let somebody get close to your glass cannon, like it's gonna fall apart, right? With enough damage or whatever. So um, otherwise it's not gonna be balanced, I think.
So I mean, I think he has a point because like if you look at CMs in the past, like besides the CM, right? Like magic damage wasn't really a thing. Like you didn't really think about getting spirit resistance much. Like instead you would go with defense, uh, like higher defenses into a high spirit because typically you don't expect to really meet magic damage much in CM, right? You expect to meet physical damage, and like the notable magic damage dealers would probably be a Valentine Solir, who doesn't really play typical like a typical mage because she's like a very fast mage, hits very fast. There's no cast time, so it's almost like she's like a magic version of Federica in a sense. Like it's like very long range. She does very quick hits and like very high agility because of her Energist passive, right? So what he's trying to say is that like like mages like Kilfei, but the second part of the thing is that a lot of these units also don't have the EX. Like Kelfei doesn't have an EX. But even before, so I don't know. I mean, I think what he's trying to say is like mage as a as a job, like especially like black mages. I think he's trying to say that those
I
are
agree with
outdated.
that for sure.
Yeah, he's trying to say that those are outdated, and the solution to these outdated black mages and similar is to introduce jobs like arithmetician or energist, which still do magic damage, but they're like instant cast and like very high agility. And he's saying that. So I think that's what he's trying to say. Like, so he's like, I think Glacial Regalia, I've only seen her once, and I've as far as the one who played it, and it's played really well. I probably could have sniped her down, but I didn't have a chance to snipe her down because if I did, I would be in range of getting like a AoE Berserk by King Mont because he positioned it that way. So I think there's ways to play around it by having a tactics like that.
Front
But I
line?
think online, sorry.
I said front lines, like
Front
having
line, yeah.
not playing 3 mages.
Yeah, presenting
Yeah.
other threats or like having.
Also, thank
other-
you, JB, for the subscription.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. So I think there are ways to play around it, especially with like somebody like Glacial Regalia who has a lot of other things to offer.
Yeah, she's
And
amazing.
also she also I think kind of fits the bill where her skills are almost instant cast because of so much of these like decreased activation times in her kit. So maybe she can be like an instant cast unit sometimes. I don't know. But I think I kind of see his point that just typically like the history of CM, we don't really see too much magic damage in like the past X amount of CMs, right?
Well,
Like,
Howie Lolita and Kilfei ruled 2 in a row. There was one where Yuna, Sakura, and all that was bullshit. Like with Helena, it was insane.
For a long time, even
there
before
were a couple.
Like magic damage was one of the hardest attack types to resist against.
Until Fenrir,
before, even before like class matches, like they started last October.
Helena and Yuna were a big it was the last class match or the one before where it's like I built my teams because the way I had to because otherwise I just lost to Black Rose Helena or Yuna depending on which one they chose, and if they chose both, fuck. Like
remember the total cost 220. Like I went double Quicken Black Rose Helena and did really well.
Yeah,
and it was unexpected because it just like I had to obviously do the total cost 220, but then I made the actual like limited team costs, and it still worked really well because of the map.
Like I think his main thing is magic scaling, magic attacks are not as good as magic scaling missile attacks or magic scaling slash attacks or things like that. And I could agree with that because there are things that trend together, and something that trends is spirit and magic resist, magic attack resist being in the same like units or the same kits. Whereas if you do a mix up and you're magic scaling missile Like that's gonna throw off a unit that can counter that. But again, I think that might be more of a symptom of being a black mage with cast times, because things like Black Rose Helmet is fine, Yuna's fine. Like if you want, like you could be an offensive unit if you want, really. Sakura, once she gets an EX and her stats are boosted a little bit, is probably gonna be fine. She has a lot of instant stuff and some really good buffs and things, and a good mix on her sub jobs. So, and she doesn't have anything that's not really magic attack. So I don't know. I think it is maybe a black mage problem, if anything, but I don't know. I think we got enough information there to at least kind of form somewhat of a idea. Frey Skywalker asks, kind of related to what Logi said, would you mind sharing some personal stories or techniques of how you maintain a healthy balance of enjoying the game versus being competitive? I don't want to not answer this, but we did kind of go into this earlier with the question from Logi, which is talking about like how he balanced fun versus trying to win. So I don't want to go too deep in that. But his second part of it was any plan to stream randomly for friendly and free matches outside of CM season, or are you all now kind of more into shoutcasting and match analysis? For me personally, I really do want to, but part of this healthy balance is me streaming for 8 days in a row during class match and then taking it a little bit off to do other stuff, because I do have a lot of other things happening with like travel for card game tournaments and stuff that take a lot of my time. But I do have a lot of ideas, as I've been saying for like months now, that I want to implement at some point. I just really got to find a good window. And I think that maybe after November 7th, so that weekend is Nationals for the card game I'm playing. And then after that, there's going to be most likely a pretty long period of not traveling. So nice. I may try to get it into her start after that. You guys first.
Preemptive good luck to your Nationals.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, good luck, man.
You guys on that one?
Dude, I
without going, if your answer's going to get into what you said earlier, try to.
Yeah, no. I miss the days of the pandemic when we had more time to do stuff like make content.
Speak quickly, because right now you're saying you missed the pandemic.
Well,
no, I know
like,
what you mean.
I'm like pursuing my career through school and stuff. We're back to doing like real life activities and everything. It sucks that I can't create content anymore. At least I kind of retired from streaming. But like I said, like if I had the time, I would love to invest more in the community, and that would be a healthy balance for me because I really enjoy this community. And I miss shoutcasting.
I like like these match analysis. Like I really like doing that. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a good handle of doing it, because like especially if I'm doing like my own matches, especially in the beginning, sometimes I'm wasting a lot of time because I'm trying to think of what to do, and it's really difficult because I feel like I can do it a lot better if I am talking while I'm actually playing, but then I make mistakes and I lose, right? So what do I do? Like do I do that and not score as well, or do I talk after? But if I'm talking after, it's it's just sometimes it's just like all these long pauses and silences, and I don't know how to do it properly. So for me, it's just like figuring out how to do it like more effectively. Sometimes I the past couple of days I've just shared matches where it's like I don't put any commentary, and I like some people can watch it, but like other people, especially people that want to learn from it, they don't really get much out of it, because if they don't know why you're doing something, that's not really going to be so impactful, right? I feel like Raindell does it like a really good job of it, because he streams his matches and he posts videos afterwards, and he generally talks about exactly what he's doing and why he changed his composition to do from go from here to here, why he decided to put not as much missile resistance but more accuracy or something like that. And
exactly
he
what
also
I did.
Gets like what?
That's exactly what I did. That's funny. Took off the missile resist.
Yeah, and like he usually gets like between 500 to 1,000 views on YouTube for his videos, like for the class match videos. And I don't know how many people watch him live, but it seems like people really enjoy that style, especially talking while you're playing, so that they can see exactly why you're doing something. So if I was better at it and I was able to multitask better, I would probably do it more too. But I feel like I have trouble doing it. I tried a couple times, but
I think it actually helps a lot for me. I basically speak my brain while I play, and it's almost like I hear myself say it, like, oh, that's stupid, why would I do that? And then I adjust because I almost make a big mistake or something. I'm like, oh wait, then I gotta think about this, blah blah blah. And it's like in that moment. Like I'm explaining to myself, which is explaining to like the
Yeah,
audience.
it's
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the content. It's part of the engaging with the viewers. Yeah, I really miss it.
I wonder if it's like a consequence, like you and I have done a lot of streaming, whereas like Locke, you do like recording and then upload kind of thing, where it's less like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like you're
Organic.
talking to somebody else.
Yeah, it's
like
probably
you're
just
talking to yourself.
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that CM occurs a bit too frequently, given War of the Visions is not a game where you can get a unit and immediately max it, except for Wales would say a bi-monthly CM work better? First of all, this implies that you need the newest unit to win, which is false, so let's just get that out of the way. Because you don't need to max a unit to play in CM. But too frequently, it's like, yes, I've gotten that feeling where it's like, oh shit, class match again. But that's just because life is starting back up. I don't think it should be slower, because I wouldn't want less than once a month, because like this is what I play the game for. But at the same time, I get it. Like it's kind of like, all right, well, I wish I could pick when the class match was, but just because it's inconvenient for me, like I'm not gonna like complain about it. I think I would complain more if we had it bi-monthly and like have to wait like 8 weeks to play it.
Yeah.
Now, could there be middling solutions like Locke was saying, 3 a day instead of 5? Or if we change, I mean, if we change to an elo system, would help a lot of this, which is, and maybe then you have like rotating windows of when you can play, not just like all day type thing. But if you just, because like you said, there might not be people playing, you might not match with anyone. But if we had a system where we could just keep queuing when you want to, that'd be cool. Also, I don't know. There's a lot of different solutions to it.
Honestly, like I would flip it on its head, and I would like to have class match more often with less rewards, like arena. If we could have like a weekly thing, if it was like bi-monthly, then we would feel more pressured to do well, and more triggered when we lost, I think.
That's fair.
um, I would like, I can see the merit to having it less often, despite like wanting to play it more, but I would increase the rewards, if that were the case. And that would only serve to help like the free to play players that had more chance to build the newer units. If they could get more rewards by doing so, I think that would be really helpful. But honestly, yeah, I would just do a complete overhaul of like the manual PvP ranked system. But I guess it's good, and like we're settling for good enough the way it is now.
Yeah, I think once a month is probably a sweet spot for me. I think if it's bi-monthly, I would I think that this is too long of a wait, because usually this is when I'm playing a lot. Like otherwise, I just log in for guild battles and like do a bunch of potatoes very quickly. So yeah, then it's hard to say. I'm spending a lot of time on a game to really play once every other month, like a week every other month. So I think once a month is what I would really want. As far as where you can get a unit and immediately max it, I don't know, because like I don't think that's really necessary. Like because even if you don't really need to get the latest units, you can use the exact same team that you used before, but just
Yeah.
having a different variety of units that you're playing against and having different rule sets and things like that, I think still makes for enough of a change that you personally, I feel that that is fine enough that I don't feel like I need to get the latest units. I've also used a lot of units in CM at 115, and I've done just as well as 120. So I think that's fine. Like I think once a month is enough. It's frequent enough.
Yeah, I think it's just a fallacy to think that you need the newest unit. Like I haven't even seen a Jaden yet.
Well, power curve is a thing though.
What do you mean?
Trying to stay on the power curve. Like the more recent the unit, probably the better it's going to do against the older units.
But also,
especially
like, what if you don't have
especially
all the
with
stuff to support it?
X
Like,
jobs? Well, yeah. So like there are nuances there, but I think it's a valid concern, like to not be able to bring the most recent unit. Because like this is a game. I mean, it's a business. They want to make money. They want to sell their most recent product, and so like in order to do so, it has to have some advantage or whatever. So yeah, I think that it's important to not discount that. The power curve is a thing, but yeah, honestly, like you don't always need the most recent unit to win because of the nature of the game, the fact that it's a tactics game. The teamwork between the units is, the dynamic, etc. It's a big deal.
How often have the rule sets been trended with most recent unit releases? Like
I don't
for
really.
arena, of course. Like the arena is where
Yeah,
you
yeah,
start saying like, oh, well, if you want to win that
exactly.
or guild battles, you got to be a whale. But like, not super often. I think the missile one might have been one, but like for the most part, I don't
Yeah,
think that's really been a trend there.
yeah, no
I don't know.
trends.
Benson said, I will say that two of the oldest banner units, Fred and Katone, are two of the highest picked and best CM units, and I don't think Watvi has a traditional power curve. I think it has some bursts here and there for sure. Like when Halloween Leela came out, she was kind of insane. I do think though that with the density of 120s we have now, though, there's enough variety that like just because you have the newest unit, like there could also be a unit that just like you said, like Rain against Jaden. Like if I jam Rain and everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna use Jaden to win. Good luck. Like
Right. And I
so,
would hope that that's the case. Like there needs to be that kind of balance. I think if there was like a weekly manual ranked, then I would expect to see like a map that kind of like an arena.
sure.
But yeah, I think overall, I think you're right.
Frey asks second series of questions. Thoughts and reflections on the state of evolution of live PvP, for example, balance, fairness, diversity, units, playstyles. Are we in a healthy state, or what are things you wish were better? I think we've also touched on this a lot. It's very similar. So talking about how it's evolved from maybe used to use like really balanced teams that can handle everything, and now it's more of kind of a you pick what you want to be good at, and you have to accept that you're going to be bad against a couple things. I think we're relatively healthy right now.
They need to promote it more.
Yeah, promote it more for sure. Things I wish were better. I mean, again, I would prefer an elo system. I'd prefer more strict rule sets that force people to go outside their comfort levels. The things we've said already throughout this cast. I don't mean to not answer the question, but I also don't want to make this go
too long,
too much longer than 3 hours. So
yeah, yikes. Splitting the rankings between auto and manual. Promoting manual more. Like the more players we have that like are consistently interested in the rewards, I think the better. Yeah, so those things would I think prolong the health of the mode.
anything, Locke?
No, most of the stuff is like stuff that I've already said, so I don't really have anything new to add. Yeah.
Someone made a comment. I prefer. Wait, what?
Sorry, Frey.
Oh yeah. Someone comments I prefer bi-monthly CM, that way you can at least prepare with more maxed unit. Yeah, this is what we just said. That's just not true. Vinny asks, what are your thoughts on removing the 25% elemental advantage? Okay, so man, I guess at that point, what is the point of the elements, right? Like if you could have some like arbitrary like the -10 +15 kind of things, but man, like it'd be nice to not just feel like, oh, mono wind can't beat mono ice type thing, but at the same time having some dynamics like that is kind of cool. Like it gives you a real cost to choosing to play mono wind, like if you're against mono like whereas if you come up against mono ice and you happen to do that, then it's like you're accepting that that's going to be rough. But if you have a balanced team, you get rewarded for that because you can handle multiple things. Like we talked about, I think a couple weeks ago, if you're playing like mono water, bring an earth unit. So it's like water, earth to handle the lightning units that you might be matched against. So I think it adds tactics to the game. Although maybe nerfing it to like 15 or something instead of 25, because it is a lot of damage extra. It's pretty substantial. Also, maybe removing... So it's advantage to everything you do. Maybe remove that and make it just so the elemental attacks themselves. So it has to be a wind skill to get the advantage against a earth unit, for example. Not necessarily like if my wind unit casts flare, it's not elemental, that shouldn't get a bonus necessarily against an earth unit. I think if they made that change, I could see it. But the way it stands right now, it's just the unit. So like Drain Force gets a bonus, whereas I'd be okay with that not being the case.
I like keeping it, honestly, because like just that in the specific example, like if you are facing like a unit that has the elemental disadvantage against you, but has really high stacked defenses, whether like attack type or elemental or just natural defense or spirit or whatever, like still having that advantage against them, like even with just like an auto attack or whatever, I think is important in the sense of making sure that that unit doesn't just become completely OP or whatever. And generally, that like when you have somebody that's really like stacked. Unless we're talking about Black Rose Helena or whatever with like magic resistance or whatever, but I think I'm in
Well, dark and
favor
light's
of
a whole other question, right?
yeah.
Like dark and light is a weird one.
Yeah, exactly. Like like I was about to say what Jay Benson just said. Like it slows the power creep and it allows you to shift the meta. Like we're just seeing with Earth versus Lightning. Like Cloud and Federico, we're not seeing as often because of yours and Catone. Like it's kind of being pushed out, and it's like it's a tool to kind of affect the meta. You know.
I think what I said earlier on the cuff, though, make it the elemental skills, not just like everything they do, because like that kind of removes the elemental part, and it's literally just unit to unit, not like what you're doing to unit, if that makes sense. Like a wind unit using a wind skill should have advantage on Earth, but like a wind unit using Drain Force or something, it feels a little weird. I don't know.
I don't know. I think I'm okay with having it like just be everything, like 25% advantage to everything, and also like it also goes the other way, right? Like if if Ketone uses Drain Force on a wind unit, that's also 25% less as well. So
which I also think is meh.
but yeah, I don't know. I think it's really interesting to have like these units working that way, because I like for a while I also played like a unit that's weakness is covered by another unit's strength. So I would have like a fire, what is it? Fire, wind, and I don't know. I can't think of the elemental triangle right now.
Fire, wind, lightning.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, fire, wind, lightning, something like that, so that everyone covers each other's weakness. And that was really interesting to play. And I think having something like that in the game is probably good. Now dark and light, I think that should just like be removed if it could or something. These units just be given to like other elements, because it totally ruins the balance of it. And yeah, like right now, like if I play a non-light and dark unit, I know that there's always going to be a unit there that's going to have a disadvantage that I can't hit for full damage. But if I play Jaden, I'm like the most he will always do 100%, if not 125% of his damage, which is kind of, in my opinion, a cheat. And I don't like that it exists, that dark and light is better than others within the elemental sphere.
Mm-hmm. All right. Someone said, okay, when putting together a team composition for CM, how confident do you feel that your team has a way of beating each of the most common meta teams out there? And could you give an example of a time when your comp had an unfavorable matchup against a skilled opponent and you still managed to win? So, definitely, it's kind of like I've been saying for a while now, like you cannot build teams that handle everything anymore, which I love that exists. It's very frustrating because it means I don't go undefeated all the time, but at the same time, that means the game, I think, is more balanced and more well, like in a better state. Now, an example of a time when you're competent, unfavorable matchup, and you still manage to win. I mean, can I think of like a specific match? Not necessarily, but I mean, there's been plenty of times where, I mean, talk about elemental advantage, where maybe there was a wind unit. Actually, I guess a good example is when I was playing Mono Earth against like 2B teams. Fucking brutal sometimes, but like status effects were huge against her. Like if I ever hit a disable from behind with Zazan, or Catone was able to like I casted slow with Catone before to beat wind units. So things like that. I think it probably comes down to status effects mainly, actually. Or as a Mono Ice player, like, I know you're going to say it, but mono ice teams against fire is a real fucking problem sometimes. But because of the way I build my teams, I have ways to sort of either stack with each other to get like chains. Chaining is a big thing. Or like I just said, status effects. So specific game though, I can't think of one right now.
Yeah, we play so many matches that it's like yeah, they stand out for like a month or so, but like
yeah, over time.
I mean, unless it's like the less frequent you play them, like in tournaments or whatever, the more they kind of stand out.
Like I'll always remember the one where it was an I had Agrius, Victora, and something against another Agrius and 2 other units. The important part was I hit my own Agrius with my Victora's Charm LB, because I was like, it's not gonna charm her. Not only did it charm my own Agrius, it also charmed their Agrius and the unit I was trying to hit. Like, I hit all 3, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just take the damage, whatever. It does no damage. fucking charm my Agrius, their Agrius, and whatever the hell else I hit. That was the most absurd, like unexpected outcome. I was like, oh shit, like, having
Yeah.
to adjust there. There's no way I hit this, and boom, both of them. Craziness.
I
Like,
remember
that one I'll remember. Or like all the 97s in my past where it's like I had a 97% chance to full life or charm or something and missed.
Oh god.
Just like the series of those are always burned into my brain. Yeah, Mr. 3% lives.
Missed 3% or unlucky. I still remember, like, I know it's supposed to be within the parameters of like the unfavorable matchup against a skilled opponent and still winning. But I still like in terms of matches standing out. Like I remember, like back with the forest map, we were training, we were like practicing for like a tournament, and I was running like 3 magic or like 3 reflex or magic reflex units, and it was like a triple magic reflex. And I was like, "What the like?" It was like somebody made a clip, and I don't know if
Yep.
it still exists, but
It
it was
probably
like,
it's somewhere on the
"How-
Discord.
I can't believe this happened." And that was like kind of the start of like the WTF reflex kind of
Wasn't that-
memes, you know?
I think that was back when reflexes were like linked though, where if one happened, they all happened. Like
I don't know.
that was a thing for sure because I had statistically it was 100% of the time I saw it. I never saw it unless the person had it off.
It's like a stealth
And no
fix or
else either.
something.
Yeah, and they fixed it eventually.
We will never know.
No, we won't.
Trying to answer the question specifically though.
Lock, do you have any thoughts while Daniel thinks?
How confident do you feel your team is a way of beating each of the common meta teams? I mean,
It's part of the
I
process.
try to kind of think about something that has a pretty good chance of beating stuff. I don't know. I think it also comes down to how much you can practice, because I think in theory it can also make sense, but if you don't actually practice it, it doesn't. One of the things I was thinking of earlier before I settled on this team was like a dark team with Dwayne, Venera, and Leela, like the original little Leela. I was planning to EX her and run this as a team. But I never got a chance to, and I didn't really get to practice as much as I could. But I read other people's comments on practicing, and they're like, yeah, she can't really approach anyone. Like, she just gets sniped, even against magic damage. So it's really hard to play her. And so, I mean, when I was thinking of it before, I was like, yeah, there's going to be like Elena's everywhere. There's going to be Jaden's everywhere. So I think that this is a pretty good team. I can handle accuracy. I can handle evade. Not evade. Sorry, yeah, I can handle accuracy because I have a ton of dex and luck in my team. So I should be okay to handle most of the stuff. I think theoretically that's what I think. But then in practice, it really depends. And you have to really practice to know that it can handle all these things. And I mean, if I had enough time to practice, I would probably try to do something that would be able to handle like 75% of the meta or something. If I don't have enough time to practice, I mean, it's usually just all in my head, and I go with whatever I can think of. And then also it depends on your opponent, like the skill of your opponent, because I can think of like a Ketone, UR Zazan, and original Zazan team that can beat me, and I've already beaten that team many times in the CM with the current team I have because of the the decisions that they take, and also the TMRs, right? Because you can only have 3, and typically you want to have Keenblade on Zazan. So you can either have like Marshari's TMR and Luel's TMR, or you can have Marshari's TMR and Halloween Driver's TMR. And both of those are like totally different styles. And sometimes you might win with one, and sometimes you might not, right? So it all depends. Yeah.
I think oh, sorry.
Like the whole unfavorable matchup against a skilled opponent, that like happens like daily, I think. Because there's almost always going to be like a matchup where you're like, this is kind of an acceptable risk for me, and how am I going to deal with this? And it doesn't even have to be unit versus unit. It can be like this unit has this particular skill that has a greater effect, a greater advantage over my team than something else. And it's like the RNG of like, is this charm arrow going to land versus is this whirling vortex going to proc confusion or whatever. So it's like, because it happens so often, it's like, I don't know, I'm just blanking in terms of like thinking of specific examples. So, but it's definitely something I'm going to keep in mind for future episodes. Like, oh, by the way, this stands out to me, and shout out to Highwind for keeping this like fresh in my mind.
I think if I could sum it up in like one sort of like trying to be not philosophical, what's the not impactful, this is like the number one word I can never remember on the spot. profound. There we go. Like if I was trying to think, I was trying to be all profound and whatever, insightful. I don't build teams to beat everything. I anymore. I try to make sure I don't lose to what I think is going to be most common. Like it's not just an auto loss to what's most common. Like something on the team has to be able to handle it. So it's not necessarily trying to win. It's trying to not lose, and then I'll figure out how to win later. it's kind of how I've been building. But
I think most of us kind of grasp that.
yeah. Last question. What the hell was that? Hey, anyway. Last question on the last question.
I'm Mario.
Yeah. From Chase first all. No. Chase first all asks if they added in mastery beyond units like we already have, or like we have already for vision cards and espers. How much will that affect the CMs?
Whoa.
I think that'd be very weird. Like, what would you do? Like, add it based on like the ice party abilities? Would be like ice VCs, or I don't even know how you'd implement that, but I think that'd be a shitty system. So I hope they don't do it because Esper Magicite's also kind of annoying. I don't even know how to think about that because I don't think it would be a good system. I mean, obviously, it would affect CMs depending on what stats they give, and do you have to equip the VCs to get the bonuses, or do you just have to own them like units?
Right.
So at what, like, where does that stop? Yeah, that's a weird one. I'd have to see how it would be implemented before I could really answer.
It would probably further increase the power gap.
Yeah, I
which is
mean,
it's never a good thing.
yeah, because if it's by like owning VCs and stuff, like then yeah, it's gonna be very.
Yeah.
Or like,
I don't.
like if it encourages using specific espers, then you're always going to try to use those. And if you don't have the magicite for them or whatever,
I think it'd be really bad.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a good change because you would have to like really focus in on one element really to get the best whatever for it.
Yeah.
But like best advantage for it, and it's just too restrictive. in my opinion.
Nation bonuses from E30 in chat. Oh god, like you use Fennis units together or whatever. It could be
That'd be
kind of
cool.
cool because that would
Yeah, I
actually
like that.
I would like that because it would cross elements. Because a lot of times you're not going to find like a mono fire team unless you're playing what Kingmont, Elda, and Lilith. I guess would be like mono fire Leonis. But then again, that's kind of a cool team, and like not a lot of people will necessarily use that. And it's these older units that don't see a ton of play. Maybe it incentivizes them.
and it's also at odds with mono element bonuses, right? Like, you're not going to always have like a mono element team.
That's
also
what
a
I'm saying.
nation.
So it'd be cool because it would give you the cross. It would incentivize the opposite of what we currently have. So I can see that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
Maybe there's like
I
a
like
really
that.
broken one though that we're not that like we after some initial thoughts you'd be like, oh shit, this would just be insane. But I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So yeah, I'd be okay with that one. As of now, with like initial brief thought, I think it'd be fine. But I'm looking to see. Oh, you could do like Surgus, Victora, Curry. Or what is that?
Nice. Encourage like MR and lower units.
Yeah, actually.
Talk about slept on units.
Yeah, right.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
Moraga, Kilfey, Durando. Is Durando considered? He's not Fennis though.
Now he's like Go-Go, right?
Oh baby, Murmur, Grayson, Whisper.
Oh, God.
What are my bonuses? Bring it on. Nah, but I think that'd be an interesting one, depending on how they implemented it. But yeah, fuck the VC Esper one. Like, please don't ever do that. Obviously, it would affect it. I just would have to see how it'd be implemented to really answer how it would affect. But I think it'd be really poor design to do that. But yeah, anybody in chat will give you like maybe a minute or two if there's any last minute questions. Otherwise, yeah, I think. Do you guys have any kind of summary thoughts besides just like thank you everybody for tuning in for like 3 hours with us?
Yeah, right.
It's
like,
been a crazy ride. Like, I knew it was gonna be 2 hours. I wasn't sure if we'd hit 3, but I probably should have known how long we'd take on units. We always say we're gonna go fast on like EXs and stuff. But there's always thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. So
Yeah. I really good questions, honestly, very thought provoking. It's definitely stuff that's gonna sit with me like into the future, you know, like trying to address these things. I really wish that Gumi did the same thing. I kind of want to do this more often, but obviously we can't really expect to have 3-hour episodes every time. But like more engagement with everyone, I think is really cool. Instead of like making something and then looking at the comments later or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you guys already know that. This is the first time I brought that up. In terms of the content today, I'll have to think about it. Get back to me.
Fair. Lock?
So I mean, I don't really stream. I think the only stream I've done before was on like Diggs' stream with like all of us before, and a long time
Oh
doing this, and
yeah.
that
Mhm.
was like that wasn't long. I think it was only like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. But this is the first time I streamed for quite a while, and I liked it. I think it's cool. Like when I started doing YouTube, I didn't really want to like show my face or anything, so it's just like getting over your comfort zone and stuff. And like it's a learning process. I would do it. Like I would do streaming as part of my regular thing where I would just like play like especially class match while I stream or something. But it's just so hard for me. Like I'm not used to it at all, and it's just like so many mistakes are happening all the time. So I have to get more used to it, and I also have to like get better equipment because right now I don't have anything I can stream on. Like my computer is kind of sitting in the dark over there. I need to actually like and I don't have a webcam, so even if I get it on my computer, I can't really stream anyway. So I need to figure out exactly what to do. But like something like this, I think is really cool, and it gives me exposure to like part of this and like interacting with fans or with people and
Yeah,
live
fans. No.
community fans. Yeah,
Nah, keep it with fans. Yeah.
the live PvP community. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's really cool to have this, and I'll be up for more of this kind of stuff. Maybe not as long as 3 hours, but
Yeah, no, I mean,
maybe
not when we're like
shorter.
catching up or whatever. Oh shit, I
Yeah.
didn't even notice because I don't have the stream notifications up, but we got a $100 donation during this.
Oh what?
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's super generous.
Well, shit. Well, it's Blythe, but you know. Thanks, mom.
That's really cool. Thanks, Mom.
the 50 episode congratulatory gift.
Oh yeah, how did we miss that, man? I feel like maybe notifications were on or whatever.
No, I didn't have it on
Alert.
because I have the
Yeah.
podcast set up on here, and then I
Yeah.
also had a bunch of gifted subs from her for my birthday. So
Nice. Yeah, she's at 20 now. Okay, so I think my summary is I really hope that this gets back to Gumi in some way, and like they think about things like giving us more custom options for the parameters of the map, or thinking about auto versus manual like ladders, some kind of change for the better, outreach for more live PvP stuff. Any of the stuff, honestly, we mentioned, I think if it comes back to them in any way, then I'll be happy, and it'll have been worth it. I mean, obviously it's worth it, but hopefully this has the chance to for them to see it. That would be
yeah,
cool.
looks like no more active questions from the chat, so I think we'll wrap up here. Again, officially, just thank everybody for tuning in. Next week, I don't know about the exact days we're going to be doing this, if it's going to go back to Wednesdays or if it's going to be on weekends or what we're going to do. I think Wednesdays seem like they worked for us mostly, so maybe we'll have to go back to that. Yeah. I think we covered a lot of shit today.
We did, yeah.
Next week we'll catch up on the one unit we missed, which is the one that came out this week. I don't remember his name, but he's the wind
Baruch.
like magic samurai guy. Really cool unit, just no interest in him whatsoever. Spoiler alert. But yeah.
I have to pull him now. Damn it.
What's that?
You're not interested in him, so somebody has to cover it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, someone else got to pull it. Yeah,
What do you
you're
think
doing
about
all the win teams. Come on.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll wrap up there. Thank you for tuning in. I've been Zach Bro.
I've been Dana Boone. Thank you guys.
And I've been Locke. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.